I can hear that voice from anywhere, bro. What's up, dude? I follow your shit all the time, man.
Motherfucker just gave me a ticket, son of... That motherfucker, where's he hiding that, motherfucker?
I was like this prime example of the bullshit.
On his first day,
I gotta run talk about that
I'm
shit.
Dan, bro. I message you on looking at your shit all the time.
Dan? I didn't block you, did I?
No, you're good.
All right, brother. Take it easy, my brother. So, hey, you seen the corruption. See you, brother.
He claimed that shots were fired at police, when the only shot that was fired that night was from his gun.
the department has declined to comment on the pending litigation. Nancy Hardy, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Breaking news out of Indiana this afternoon and a resounding rejection of pressure from the White House. Indiana's Republican senators voted down a new congressional map designed to give the GOP an advantage in next year's midterms. 21 senators from the Republican supermajority broke ranks with their colleagues and joined the chamber's 10 Democrats to vote against the map. The Republican senators who voted against are likely to face primary challengers backed by Republicans on the side of the president. Illinois lawmakers had been gearing up to respond to the new map if it had passed, but it appears they will no longer pursue their own redistricting efforts. Well, your favorite holiday bowl game could be served up with a side of politics this season as candidates start placing ads ahead of the March primary.
One of the first candidates on cable TV is Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, the social media influencer who's one of 17 Democrats running in the 9th District congressional primary.
ICE is operated with impunity.
Her first ad goes heavy on her appearance protesting Operation Midway Blitz at the ICE facility in Broadview and notes that she's under federal indictment. Retired WBBM political editor Craig Dellamore says that far from being a negative, Abu-Ghazaleh is banking on voters in that mostly liberal district seeing the charges as an overreach by the Trump administration.
To be charged in that is definitely a badge of honor.
Other candidates in the race also protested in Broadview. Dellamore says they may air similar ads to appeal to supporters of retiring Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, who's been a pillar of progressive politics for decades.
You really are going to have to show people that you can fill those shoes and be ready to run in them from day one.
Jeff Buckles, News Radio 105.9. WBBM.
In Aurora, the city council has approved its budget for next year.
City council members approved a roughly $688 million budget for next year. It includes about 140 positions being cut across city departments. The fire department is losing 18 firefighters, 3 battalion chiefs, and more. The loss is something 9th Ward Alderman Edward Bugg says council members saw coming with the investment of $35 million into a new headquarters building on top of other projects.
I myself would rather put the money in manpower and equipment. But because of our decision last year, and more importantly, in May of this year, we are stressed.
The police department also saw staffing cuts, losing about 35 positions. The mayor of Aurora says the cuts won't mean a reduction in services for residents. Valerie Vorbroker, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
4:35 on Capitol Hill. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was in the hot seat today when she testified at a House committee hearing about potential threats to the U.S. next year. She was confronted by Chicago Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, who accused Noem of repeatedly lying to the American people.
Secretary Noem, you, Gregory Bovino, and your ICBP and DHS deputized agents have waged an unaccountable, unlawful, unconstitutional war against communities across the nation.
But Noem and her department is taking numerous steps to keep the nation safe.
We're ending illegal immigration, returning sanity back to our immigration system, and we're defending against cyber attacks against our critical infrastructure. We have sent a strong message to criminal illegal aliens that we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will deport you.
The hearing is one of several global events marking 25 years since the 9/11 attacks and 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And just into WBBM, Kilmar Abreu Garcia. He's the man whose deportation earlier this year served as a rallying point for those who oppose the president's immigration enforcement actions. He has been freed from federal custody. His attorney says that Garcia plans to return to Maryland to be with his wife and child. A judge ordered that release today. We'll have much more in the story from CBS News at the top of the hour. Coming up in a minute, low gas prices, traffic, and weather together. It's 4:36.
If you're looking for the perfect gift, SubX.News Live. I'm sorry about how we started. As you've seen, one of my viewers said you got a ticket. And let me show you this. Where is it at? We're in the curbside pickup of a McDonald's. Look at this. We're in a curbside pickup. It says curbside pickup from McDonald's and we get a ticket. That's what we got today. There we go. SubX.News, and my viewer was watching them give me a ticket. I'm like, man. That's how life goes in the big city, right? You know what? I want to keep going straight. I really love these lights. Look at these lights. They really do a really nice job here. Look at these beautiful lights here, man. See that? This is the expensive street here. This is like, I don't know what it is, Pradas and Burgundies, Burdines, and I don't know, what do they have here? Richard Mill. Look at that. Geneva Seal. Is this beautiful or what? I would love the whole city to look like this. Acris, man, these are like the super. You gotta have like $1 million just to park here, I think, man. Gucci's, and they got everything here. St. John's, La Colombia. This is really expensive here. Look at this. All right, let's listen to the news. We're going to do the 5 o'clock news. It's really important, though.
Ford.com. During the Ford year-end event.
Everybody heard that guy was the girlfriend of the guy. He shot her in the back. That's the big story in Chicago. Dirty cop shoots his own partner. That's the story today. A cop shot his own partner, and the police let him shoot him because they assigned them together. You're going to hear that story today. Dirty cop.
Coming up.
This is Terry Keshner. Baseball will once again be played behind bars in Joliet.
That's on the way, but first let's get a check of the road, sponsored by...
So let me say that one more time. The big story today is a dirty cop shot his partner, that they were boyfriend, girlfriend. And she complained about him, and the cops assigned him together with her, and then he shot her in the back. That one, I covered that shooting. I was down there on Halsted by 6. There was 3 or 4 shootings that night. Remember that? I run right onto the scene. Remember, I went through the alley? I was out there on that scene. No one could be out there. I was out there, and they were saying, oh, suspect, suspect, suspect in the beginning. They tried to cover it up. The cops, I got the whole story. I wrote it up. I have all the radio calls. They tried to say someone shot the cop. And there's a bunch of cops right there, right? I see the cops right there. I told you, they got more cops out here than in Inglewood or Austin. All right, that's just the news. And then they were saying somebody shot her, but they already knew that he shot her in the back. They tried to cover it up. Then they covered it up a second time. And now there's a lawsuit that says that she was his ex-girlfriend and he shot her in the back. And she said she didn't want to work with him, and they put her to work with him, and he shot her in the back. She's dead now. That's the story. It's coming up.
Go ahead, north, southbound from north.
Dirty cop shoots his own partner. He should get the death penalty for that. Death penalty he should be. They should make an example of that guy, right? That's my view. It wasn't an accidental shooting. Look, I've talked to a lot of people, cops and military. It's impossible to shoot your partner in the back. The training doesn't let you do that. It's impossible. The way you get trained in the military, in the police department, you cannot shoot your partner in the back unless you want to shoot him in the back. That's the training. I've talked to multiple people in the military and in the police department. There's no way you can shoot your partner in the back. It's impossible. It's impossible. Yet, that guy hasn't been charged, has he? But murder, right? There you go.
Featuring the Joliet Slammers on April 30th, 2026. Inmates played baseball inside the prison for nearly 100 years. Up until the prison closed in 2002, there's still a baseball diamond in the prison courtyard. The one-time only game is part of next year's 100th anniversary.
Yeah, we're working on a lot of stuff. Look, if you grew up in Chicago, you know what I'm talking about. That don't mean cops are bad. Just like teachers, just like city workers, just like politicians, just like anybody, there's good and bad. But we all know who grew up in Chicago. We know what's up here, man. All right, this is some news, and then I'll go on live, all right?
Levitt was asked, what now?
The president is prepared to take action on health care, and he wants Republicans on the Hill to do the same.
Given that current subsidies expire in just weeks, how fast can he act?
You'll hear more from the president and from the White House on that.
Secretary Leavitt blames Democrats.
Democrats are now pretending they want a solution to this issue, but they created the problem.
For years, Republicans have said repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Now they have just weeks. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
New analysis about the number of people arrested in the U.S. over the past 5 years, and it has concluded that arrests are down across the sector with CBS's Crime and Safety.
Of the COVID-19 pandemic. So in 2019, about 10 million people were arrested, according to FBI data, and that number dropped to about 7.5 million people in 2024.
Although men make up a majority of arrests, the share of female arrests has increased, with girls making up 31% of all juvenile arrests in 2024, and women making up about 27% of adult arrests that same year. NASA has lost contact with a spacecraft that has orbited Mars for more than a decade. The spacecraft, known as MAVEN, abruptly stopped communicating on December 6th. NASA says it was working fine before it traveled behind the red planet, but when it reappeared, there was only silence. An investigation. It's 4:42.
From the small shops in Pilsen to the skyscrapers of Wacker Drive, business is the heartbeat of the Chicago area. I'm Rob Hart. WBBM's New Business Hour is in the thick of it every weekday, covering the challenges, the innovators, and the smart spending hacks that benefit your bottom line. When you stay in the know, Chicago businesses grow. Chicago's news, traffic, weather, and business station, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Staples presents an easy holiday.
My holiday list was a mile long.
La boo-hoo-hoo.
Staples made it easy with big savings on tech gifts.
I'm listening.
And I saved big on custom holiday cards, too. Plus, Staples has UPS shipping in store.
Holy flying reindeer. Shop Staples today for 50% off custom cards, invites, wrapping paper, labels, stamps, and photo gifts.
That was easy.
So as we were talking about Chicago, I'm going to keep going out because it's important. The 5 o'clock news is going to be important. They're going to talk about her getting shot in the back. That don't mean police are bad. But we need to be cognizant of what happens in Chicago with corruption. And if you have a corrupt government, which we know Brandon Johnson's corrupt, then we need to be extremely careful about what we do when we're honest citizens. Because if he's corrupt, he'll do anything to stay in power. That means he'll ask corrupt people, whether they're corrupt cops, firefighters, government agents, streets and sand, corrupt county people, corrupt state people, even corrupt feds. There's corrupt federal officials to do his bidding. They might give you a ticket. They might give you a fine. They might slow down when you need an ambulance, whatever they do. And people say, you're so mean, John. No, I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth from a guy that's lived in this city for 55 years. Corruption's corruption. Ever since the Capone time, ever since the DuSable times, right? DuSable, right, came here, and it was corrupt here. There was all kinds of stuff here. So we need to always be careful how we do our work. SubX.News, that's the news a little bit.
26. For a limited time, when you're approved for a new country.
Today, the corruption is going to be, we're going to look at all the migrant shelters. We spent all the money on these migrant shelters. Where did it go? And we're going to do a tour of the migrant shelters.
Bank of America, proud to be the...
That's what we're going to do. Think about it. All that money we spent. Why are all these migrant shelters shut down? I'm going to show you a bunch of them, okay? Today, that's what we're going to do.
Himself, Chris Cunahan, is here to take your most pressing leave.
Again, we spent billions of dollars just in the state. We paid all these places. I showed you, so far I showed you the Holiday Inn out in Ford City. I showed you the Lakeshore Hotel yesterday in Hyde Park, Kenwood. It's closed. It's closed. The Inn of Chicago, where I start every day, it's closed. I can go right now. I'll show you this. These places, why did they get all these millions of dollars and they're still closed? It's strange, isn't it? And no one's done an audit. Not even the Republicans have checked where the money is. Why didn't the Republicans have yet? Why didn't they investigate where the money went? Well, maybe they got some of it, didn't they?
To get this special radio offer,
maybe some of the Republicans got some of that migrant money. Huh? Oh, you're mean. You're mean. I ain't mean, man. I'm just saying what's happening, man. Why hasn't there been an investigation of where all the migrant money went? Why not? Why not?
Pull a fast one on police after stealing a BMW and crashing it on the highway. When police arrived on the scene, the man insisted he had been teleported into the wrecked car. It's a good thing whoever beamed him in there made sure the seatbelt was attached too. Police say it saved his life. The convertible was totaled, and the owner later admitted that he left the keys in the cup holder. And a DoorDash driver in Indiana has been fired after she was accused of spraying pepper spray on a customer's Arby's bag, and it was caught on a doorbell camera. The woman who ate the food got sick, and that's when she and her partner checked the video. The driver can be seen dropping off the sandwiches and then spraying the entire bag. The couple says they don't know the driver, and of course they didn't give her a tip. Why she did it, we do not know. 4:46, time to find your next Porsche at PorscheLincolnwood.com. Turning to sports now, here's Adam Szynski.
The Bears tried to avoid an upset when they host the 3-win Browns on Sunday. It'll be pretty cold at Soldier Field for that game. Defensive tackle Grady Jarrett says the cold is what it is.
So what we supposed to do? I don't got a magic answer for you. We go out here and practice, and we're going to be ready for Sunday. We know it's going to be cold. We got to go out there and play the game.
Meanwhile, the Bears injury report for today. Wide receiver Roma Dunze was limited with a stress fracture in his foot. That's the injury that kept him out of the game against the Packers last weekend. Defensive back Tyreek Stevenson was limited. Nickel corner Kyler Gordon missed practice with a groin injury. Cubs are reportedly signing left-handed reliever Hobie Milner to a 1-year deal. Milner was with the Rangers last season. He had a 3.84 ERA in just over 70 innings, along with 58 strikeouts and 21 walks. Thursday Night Football tonight, it's the 7-6 Buccaneers at home against the 4-9 Falcons. Kickoff is at 7:15. You can hear Westwood One's coverage of the game on 670 The Score. With sports at 16:46, I'm 670 The Score's Adam Szynski on News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Adam, thank you. 4:48, time to check in on the roads. Lisa Costi.
I-80 westbound still jammed, Lisa, from US 30 to Chicago Street. We've got a multi-vehicle crash there in the left lane on the eastbound side of I-80, heavy from Center Street to past Richards, and then I-355 to I-57. Some better news on the Reagan. Eastbound still solid from Highland to before the northbound Tri-State ramp, but that cleanup of an earlier crash happening, it's all been moved to the left shoulder. Southbound Cicero still jammed from 16 to the Stevenson, with that overturned semi and fuel leakage. Only one lane's dead. The Edens, you're bumper to bumper from the Spur Valley Cook. The Kennedy, it's heavy from Cumberland all the way up to Ogden, so you're kind of creeping along there too. It's an hour 13 from O'Hare to the Jane Byrne interchange, 33 from the junction, outbound 33 to Montrose, 53 to O'Hare. Express lanes are 4 minutes slower on the outbound side. Stay in the locals if you can. The Eisenhower inbound, it's an hour. Jane Addams to the Jane Byrne, 45 from Manheim. Outbound, you're heavy from the Byrne interchange to 25th, and Woodfield to I-90. It's 52 to Manheim, and then an hour 12 to the Jane Addams. Stevenson, you're looking at about an hour in either direction from between I-355 and DeSoto Lakeshore Drive. The Dan Ryan inbound, 20 minutes for you, 40 on the outbound side. Next traffic at 4:58 on News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
WBBM AccuWeather with a cloudy sky tonight. We'll have some snow flurries around, maybe some steadier snow south and west of the city that can accumulate a coating to an inch. Tonight's all around 20 degrees. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow with some flurries, a high near 30. And then it turns frigid tomorrow night with lows into the single digits. 26 degrees.
That's like premeditated conspiracy murder. I don't even know what to call that, my brothers and sisters. What do you call it when the lady says, don't assign me with him, and they assign him with him, and then he murders her, and then they try to cover it up? I'm telling you, I got a story on it. I got all the radio calls. I was down there. They said, they're looking for people. Yeah, they tried to blame it on people.
The Illinois Department of Children and Family Services is investing $4.5 million to support 4 new beds in Lurie Children's inpatient psychiatric unit. The expansion of the unit will provide safety-focused, sensory-supportive design elements to meet the unique needs of young people with autism and intellectual and developmental disabilities. Lurie Children says the new beds address a critical shortage of resources for youth with these disabilities. Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
New survey finds that most hourly workers are struggling.
More than 80% of those polled by the workforce payment platform Branch said they worry they won't be able to pay their bills on time. 6 in 10 have skipped meals to cover their bills.
Financial instability is now intersecting with unpredictable schedules, volatile income, and just creating compounding stress for this demographic.
Branch CEO Atif Siddiqui.
Some of this is just impact of still rising prices, housing costs, inflation.
77% of hourly workers have less than $500 in emergency savings. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
A French charity raffling off a painting by the 20th century master Picasso.
The raffle tickets are being sold for €100 each, about $120. The prize, Picasso's 1941 portrait Tête de Femme, head of a woman, valued at $1.2 million. It was painted in 1941, probably grandson Olivier Picasso says, in the same studio where he painted his anti-war masterpiece, Guernica. Proceeds will go to Alzheimer's research. The drawing takes place next April. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Corina Machado made a public appearance in Oslo, Norway early today, marking the first time in 11 months she's appeared in public. Machado waved from the balcony of a hotel and then came outside to greet her supporters. Speaking with the BBC, she said despite the risks, she plans to return to Venezuela.
Of course I'm going back to Venezuela. The Venezuelan government would have disappeared me if they found me when I was in Venezuela. And I know exactly the risks I'm taking. And what I've said to the Venezuelan people from the beginning is I'm going to be in the place where I am more useful for our cause.
Machado couldn't make it to Oslo in time for the actual award ceremony, so her daughter accepted the prize on her behalf. Bloomberg Business coming up at 4:52.
For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning.
This is the inner Chicago. We're going to do a tour of all the migrant shelters. There used to be tons and tons of migrants over here. Right there. Tons of them. They're gone. That place got millions and millions and millions of dollars. Why isn't the money? Why don't we see the money, right? Why don't we see the money of this place? The inner Chicago over here in Schroederville. We're going to do a little tour today of all the migrant shelters. All that money we spent, the billions of dollars, we spent billions. It disappeared like nothing. There you go, inner Chicago, abandoned and empty. What happened to all those millions? Right? Think about it. We spent all that money. You would think the businesses would be going, right? They're not. All right, let's stop. Let's go. Today's going to be a migrant thing, right?
Here, or check them out at advancedhair.com.
Double record close on Wall Street. The Dow jumped
in Chicago.
Right after the opening bell, with investors
spent
encouraged
millions of dollars
by the Fed's
here.
decision to cut a
Don't
key
see it,
interest
do
rate
you?
0.25%. The S&P got a boost later in the day, sending the broadest of the indices to a new
4:50
high.
p.m.
Dow was up
December 11,
646 points, a
2025.
gain of 1 1/3%. Didn't take quite that much for the S&P to hit the benchmark, up less than 0.25%. The markets hate uncertainty, and there's plenty of it where Oracle is concerned lately. The Nasdaq plunged early on over investors' worries about whether the company is spending too much money on artificial intelligence. The tech-heavy index fell 0.25%. Consumer Reports magazine is out with its list of the top auto brands of 2025. At the top, Subaru for the second year in a row, followed by BMW and Porsche in third. Tesla came in 10th, its highest score ever. Dead last at number 31, Jeep. With business at 23 and 53. From the Bloomberg Newsroom, Dario.
Oh, man. My car is the most, worst dependable? Yeah, I'll testify to that. Yes. I just got it out of the shop. Yes, Jeeps are like the old Hardys of the 70s. They're kind of junky, but they're kind of good. They're kind of good and bad. You know what I mean?
Whether your roof is going to make it through another Chicago
Which one?
One call
What
to
do you-
Rogers Roofing to schedule a free 20.
Was 82nd and Cottage? The shooting? I thought it was by Halstead over there. Was it 82nd and Cottage? You might be right. That night, there was a couple of shootings. If you look up my videos, I had a live video from the shooting scene. I was actually in the alley there. And I was around there when they were chasing the guys, and I was there, I think, when they arrested them. I might have been there, I might not have. You got to double check my records. But I was out there live. I was at the scene. I was inside the shooting scene in the area there. I thought it was by Halstead. I don't know. Double check it. I might be wrong. You might correct it. It might have been on Cottage. You might be right. 82nd. You might be right. Sometimes I mix up the addresses and all of that stuff. So I appreciate you, Steve. But if you look, I was alive and I came through the alley up there. What's next to Cottage? The street east of Cottage, right? I was right up in that alley. I was right in the middle of all of that stuff. They said they were looking for suspects, if you remember that. In the beginning. Yeah, they were lying right away. And then they kept up the lie the next morning, and then they finally said, yeah, the partner shot her.
for extended international use. Must reside in the U.S. and primary usage must occur on our network. Visit T-Mobile.com.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with...
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you. Yeah, that's... I don't even know what to say about it. It's what somebody just say. Everybody involved should be investigated. Why did you assign the guy with her when she made complaints? I mean, that's some corruption there, man. That's like a death warrant. They kind of like killed her, basically. You know, there was a drug bust here or something happened here yesterday on Grand. Or somebody was stabbed here and robbed. Yesterday, I think, last night. Grand Avenue, look it up. There's a lot of stuff they're coming. Look. So I realized this. Somehow the federal government has access to everything. I don't know if they have access to the records or the live feeds or whatever it is. But that's why they filed that thing, Trump against CTA, said you need to give us the security details. Because they know what's happening in the CTA. It's bad. Last night there was at least 5 or 6 things within an hour that happened on the CTA. Robberies and attacks. And there was a rape on the CTA this morning too. So there's a lot of bad things happening in our city. There was a rape that happened at my wife's work at Northwestern. And they covered that one up too. And I knew that guy. I watched him. I said, you need to get rid of that guy. And they said, oh, he's just homeless. And he raped somebody. These homeless guys... Look, if you're homeless, you're homeless. I get it. I get that stuff. But there's criminals among the homeless, and it's dangerous.
Left lane, eastbound heavy center.
We're going to listen to the 5 o'clock news. It's really important. That case about that shot cop getting shot in the back. Here, I'm going to be honest. I said that Schnelling should be fired. He should have been fired when? When they had that mass shooting downtown in the Loop. Because you know why? Justin over at the crime trial said he was there and he watched the cops let the crimes happen. They allowed the rioting to happen. There was riot. Everybody knows when those 9 kids got shot in the Loop, there was riots down there before the shooting. And Justin said, I watched them and they didn't do anything. So Schnelling should have been fired for that. If Schnelling doesn't get fired for this one, where the cop got shot by her own partner, then we know it's corruption. We know it's corruption.
Jane Byrne. 45 for Mannheim, outbound 52 just to get to Mannheim, and then an hour 12 to the Jane Addams. Stevenson, it's an hour.
Oh, you were? You remember? I came up that alley. Remember that? I'm like, I was here. And then I parked in the parking lot by the... You're right. It is 80. It's by the old rib joint, right? Now it's the donut place. It used to be ribs. Let's listen to the news. It's a really important day for news today. This is an important case. It shows corruption it shows corruption. DEI corruption. DEI.
Half hour on News Radio WBBM. Indiana Republicans vote down a new congressional map that would have given the GOP an advantage in next year's midterms. A new lawsuit filed against the Chicago Police Department by the family of Officer Crystal Rivera alleges her death in the line of duty was preventable. Plus, the White House says President Trump is prepared to take action after the latest bills to tackle the Affordable Care Act subsidies failed twice in the Senate. The latest on that coming up from CBS News and Business.
I'm Tom Busby at Bloomberg. The Dow today soaring to a fresh record high, up 646 points. The S&P up 14, also at a record high. The Nasdaq, though, down 60.
Cloudy skies, 26 degrees now. It is 5 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The Senate failed today to pass a Republican or a Democratic plan to address expiring health care subsidies.
The motion is not agreed to.
More than 24 million Americans have health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Julie Robner of KFF Health News.
The average cost is going to more than double. It's going to go up 114%. People who are either older or higher up the income scale who are now getting help may lose that help. And for some of those people, we're seeing premiums that will double, triple, even quadruple.
It is the latest financial worry for Americans. Michael Wallace reports a new survey finds most hourly workers are struggling.
More than 80% of those polled by the workforce payment platform Branch said they worry they won't be able to pay their bills on time. 6 in 10 have skipped meals to cover their bills.
Financial instability is now intersecting with unpredictable schedules, volatile income, and just creating compounding stress for this demographic.
Branch CEO Atif Siddiqui.
Some of this is just impact of still rising prices, housing costs, inflation.
77% of hourly workers have less than $500 in emergency savings. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Washington State's governor is warning of potentially catastrophic flooding as rivers rise following days of torrential rain. CBS's Carter Evans is in Monroe, where a trailer park was all but submerged overnight.
I met one family who just moved here 4 months ago because they needed cheaper rent because the mother in the family was just diagnosed with cancer and they needed to pay for her treatment. And now they've lost everything. I talked with their 7-year-old daughter, Jocelyn. She says the only thing she owns now are the pink pajamas she's wearing.
The grand jury has declined again to re-indict New York Attorney General Letitia James in a mortgage fraud case. Legal analyst Lori Levinson.
This is fairly unprecedented for the administration to keep going back to the grand jury. 2 grand juries so far have said that there is not the evidence to support those charges.
Linda Kenyon has the latest on that oil tanker the U.S. seized off the coast of Venezuela.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt explains what happens now that the tanker is in U.S. hands.
The vessel will go to a U.S. port, and the United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process.
The tanker is believed to be carrying oil from Venezuela and Iran in violation of U.S. sanctions.
Gilmar Abrego Garcia has been freed from detention on a judge's order. He was detained again after returning from El Salvador, where he was mistakenly deported. On Wall Street today, stocks finished higher. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly on awards.
Yeah, we need to always be careful, right? I appreciate everybody watching. Everybody now gets it. Everybody understands what I do. I've been doing live feeding for many, many years. I've done it mostly because of my broken Jeep. I go off-roading in case something happens. But I used to live feed my kids games when they were in high school. I don't know. It's just one of the things I do. But everybody gets why I live feed this. This is what's happening. It's the history. And people watch my back. There's a lot of viewers, I'm not going to say your names, that call me and tell me what they see. They watch my back and they help me. They send me information to protect me, right? They say, this is this guy, this is that guy, right? And they protect me. So I really appreciate that. You guys don't even understand. I've said this multiple times. I want to say it today on this broadcast. You guys protect me by watching me. Even if something really bad happens to me, you will be my witnesses. Like Steve just said, he's seen that video when I was live when the cop got shot, right? We were on the scene. We go to these scenes and we see certain things, see things, right? So let's listen to news. It's really important. This cop got shot in the back by her boyfriend.
Colleagues, the remap was a response to what he called gerrymandering efforts by Democrats in Illinois and other states.
They take full advantage of the Democratic majority in Chicago. We're getting diluted by the Democrats and what they're doing in these other states.
But other Republicans who've been on the receiving end of threats from supporters of the president say the new maps would divide communities and might not survive a legal challenge. Greg Good represents Terre Haute.
The consensus of Hoosiers in District 38 is to vote again.
Looks like they cleaned this place up. This is why they want to kill me, because their drug spot's gone. See that? The drug spot's cleaned up here. They blame me for this, but whatever.
The family of a Chicago cop who was killed during a foot chase in Chatham last June has now filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Chicago Police Department and the officer who shot and killed her. Yolanda Rivero is the mother of Officer Crystal Rivera. She says her daughter's partner, Officer Carlos Baker, was struggling to accept her decision to end their romantic relationship when he shot her. Attorney Antonio Romanucci says Baker has a lengthy disciplinary record since being hired by the CPD in December of 2021.
Baker had committed 11 misconduct complaints in less than 3 years on the force, a record worse than 95% of CPD officers.
The Chicago Police Department has described the shooting as a tragic accident. A woman has been arrested in Washington state in a cold case from 5 years ago, where the remains of a newborn were found in Illinois in the northern suburbs. WBBM's Nancy Hardy tells us she was expected back in a Lake County courtroom today.
Natalie Schramm, who used to have the last name Borg, was arrested in Bellingham, Washington last week. Riverwoods police say the now 40-year-old has been charged with concealing a death, abuse of a corpse, and failure to report the death or disappearance of a child. Police launched an investigation back in May of 2020 after suspected human remains were found in a wooded area of Robinwood Lane. They later identified Schramm as the person who gave birth to the infant. She was released on bond after agreeing to waive extradition and turn herself in at the Lake County Courthouse today. Nancy Hardy, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Some 100 children teamed up with some 70 Chicago police officers for a holiday shopping spree today at the Target at Clark and Roosevelt. Former Chicago Bears defense lineman Israel Adonijah is behind the annual Shop with a Cop event.
They're learning about, hey, you have $100. This bike costs $99. If you buy this bike, you can't get anything else, right? And they work through that process, and it's just a really special opportunity for them to learn.
Each child got a $100 gift card, which was donated by Target and the company Sweetener's Supply. Police in Vernon Hills looking to join other departments, including Oakbrook and Gurnee, and using automated drones to respond to incidences.
The village trustees saw a presentation by Police Commander Andrew Gillespie. He said the department's current drone is not very useful. It's in a squad car operated by an officer. It takes time to set up, unlike what they're looking at getting.
So what happens is the 911 call comes into the dispatch center. That information feeds into the drone software, and the pilot can just click a button and it deploys the drone from wherever it's at, and it automatically flies to the location.
He said in places using the technology, drones beat officers to scenes more than 80% of the time. This is Police Chief Patrick Crease.
I'm confident in the next 2 or 3 years, this is just going to be as standard as light bars on squad cars.
He said the annual cost would be between $40,000 and $150,000, depending on the system. Mike Krauser, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
It is 5:08 now. Time for traffic. Traffic and weather together on the 8s. Watching the roads tonight, Lisa Costi.
Big delays in Joliet. I-80 westbound still heavy from US 30 to Chicago Street, but that earlier crash is clear, so we're hoping that'll be getting better for you. Eastbound slow from Chicago Street to past Richards and then past I-355 to I-57. Southbound Cicero still all jammed up from 16th to the Stevenson, that overturned semi from earlier. Only one lane is open. Take Pulaski instead if you got to be in that area. The Edens inbound is 54 minutes from Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound, you're heading Dempster to Old Orchard. It's 18 minutes. Kennedy inbound stop and go Cumberland all the way up to Ogden. It's an hour 18 now from Monger. 32 from the junction. Outbound heavy from the Vernon Interchange.
So you guys heard it. They were boyfriend, girlfriend. She cut off the boyfriend. And in the other report, we'll hear it probably at 5:30, they were more detailed. They actually said, she said, I don't want to work with him. She made complaints about him on the job. Not only does he have complaints about his work, but there's also complaints from her about him. That's the, you'll hear on the 531 where it's more like local news. That's a bad case. And now we have to start thinking, what are these police administrators doing if they're not even protecting their own police officers? Here's the thing, when we have to start thinking about, if they don't protect their own police officers, are they protecting us? Are they? You know, one of my first crime scenes, I remember this, it was down in Roseland. I talk about this case a lot. My big one, it was 4 or 5 people shot. It was a mass shooting. There was people that were associated with the gang, and it's not the first time it happened, but that was the first time it was a big shooting. You know what one of the girls said there? And she was part of the gang. She says, you cops don't do nothing to protect anyone. You only come afterwards. You want to see this? Look, I'm pro law and order. You want to see that? What are those guys doing in that car there? What are they doing in the car there? Look at that. What are they doing? They're sitting inside the car on their phones. SubX.News, that's what you're watching. You're watching, what does it say? Transit detail. Look, they're not on the transit. What are they doing? They're in their car. They should be walking on, they should be on the platform, shouldn't they? They should be on the subway station. They should be walking around. Instead, they're sitting in that car. Car number 2451. They're just sitting there. Look at that. I'm not making this up. I love cops. We need cops. Look at that. They're sitting in their car. What are they doing there? Shooting their partner in the back? Is that what they're doing? Are you kidding me? Then you have riots downtown. Didn't we just have a riot downtown where a kid got shot, a 14-year-old? Come on, man. Let's wake up, everybody.
Gas consumers of elevated gas supply prices, as well as aggressive utility rate hike campaigns targeting their wallets.
The main driver of hardship for gas customers has been that Nicor Gas and Peoples Gas have been on a spending spree in recent years, and they've been hitting consumers with one rate hike after another.
And he says Peoples Gas is gearing up for another rate hike in 2026.
Chicago is in the middle of a heating affordability crisis. There are entire neighborhoods that are having a very difficult time.
Both Peoples and Nicor Gas say they offer several programs for customers to manage energy costs. Mallory Vorbroker, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
DePaul University has been cleared to build a new athletic complex in Lincoln Park.
The city council voted to approve DePaul's plan to build a $60 million basketball and athletics practice facility on its Lincoln Park campus. The project has gone through multiple iterations since it was first unveiled in 2023 and has been one of the most contentious projects in Lincoln Park in recent years. The complex, which will include basketball courts and a student-athlete recovery lounge, will replace some century-old historic Lincoln Park buildings in the 2300 block of North Sheffield Avenue. Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
The producers of a documentary about wrongful convictions tied to a former Chicago police detective are asking for the public's help. Filmmaker Adrian Rodriguez says they're raising money on Kickstarter to complete the film called To Catch a Case.
We don't want to cut corners, right? We want to make sure that we're telling the story and doing the best production as possible. So, you know, the Kickstarter is really the next step for us to finish this film. We're hoping to finish raising the money for the end of the month.
The film focuses on cases under former Chicago police detective Reynaldo Guevara and documents the long-term impact of police misconduct. And the British actor Sir Ian McKellen is coming to Chicago Shakespeare Theatre for a one-night-only performance in January. One night only is described as McKellen sharing his illustrious 60-year career and reprising some of his most iconic roles. The performance will be at Navy Pier, the Shakespeare Theatre at Navy Pier, on January 30th in the Yard. In addition to the public event, McKellen will present a free performance of the show to some 600 Chicago area students and teachers. A cold weekend on tap. The AccuWeather 5-day forecast is next. It's 5:13.
Chicago isn't just a city, it's a stage. From the latest theater premieres and music festivals to food that defines our neighborhoods and art that inspires the world, our newsroom brings you the stories that make Chicago one of a kind. Listen every day. News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
I'm in Jameson's original.
Yeah, that Affordability Act. We got tricked into that stuff. Look, I like some of President Obama stuff, some I don't. Same thing with Trump. I like some of Trump's stuff, some stuff I don't. But they did all of these. What's the first thing they're saying? They're cutting out the subsidies. Well, what subsidies? It's welfare. So they put into the law that there were subsidies. Well, when we run out of money and the economy is bad, what are you going to do? You're going to cut the subsidies, right? That's where we're at now. They should never have had that. They should never have had any subsidies for healthcare. They should have made healthcare for all. They should have did what Bernie Sanders said. They should make a government health care. You get insurance through the government, and that's it. And you can go to any hospital, any VA, any Cook County, any state hospital. That's how they should have did, like the Army does. The Army gets insurance, and they can go to any hospital. That's how they should have did it. Bernie Sanders was right. They should have just had universal health care. None of this flim-flam weird stuff. And now we're all going to lose our health care, right? Because of that stuff. Because they did some weird stuff. We need to look at that stuff. Why that law was passed that way.
Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game.
Think about it. What's the first thing they say now on the news? The subsidies are getting cut out. It isn't that they're cutting insurance. They're cutting the subsidies. Well, why did we have subsidies in there in the first place? Man, they're cutting all the dope spots out here, man. There ain't nobody out here either. Ain't nobody out here.
A licensed medical provider
provider will determine if treatment's right for you. If prescribed, it ships free and discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/radio. That's hims.com.
I want to make sure I get to that 5:30 news, right? Because that's going to have more details about that lawsuit.
5:15, the AccuWeather 5-day forecast sponsored by Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. And I guess the phrase of the weekend is brr, Brian Thompson.
Yeah, bitter cold coming our way, at least as we head into the weekend. We're talking about high temperatures in the single digits, and especially Saturday, there's going to be a very gusty wind blowing. It's going to keep real feel temps well below zero at times. Even Sunday, the wind might not be quite as strong, but it's still going to feel very cold. Now, we have a lot of clouds across the area right now, a couple of flurries around. The snow is largely staying well off to our south and west, and it looks like it's going to stay that way. The snow angled more to the south and east, heading towards southern Indiana. So it looks like it's mostly going to miss us here. We'll have a couple of flurries around a low near 20 tonight. Mostly cloudy, still a couple of flurries around tomorrow, high near 30.
5:17 p.m., December 11th, 2025. This is the Standard Club. There were thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of migrants that went through here. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars were spent here. Millions. Millions. Look, it's closed. We just showed you the Inner Chicago, didn't we? Now we're at the Standard Club. The Inner Chicago and Standard Club were both owned by the same guy. He's a convicted tax evader. He's convicted by the federal government. He should never have a government contract that I know of, but maybe not. Well, I got to look up the law. So the guy that owned this owns the other one, but he got all the millions and now it's shut down. Again, we're doing a tour of all the migrant shelters today. How come they're all shut down? We spent all of that millions on them. Look at that. It's millions. Millions and millions and millions. And it's shut down. Look at that. There you go. It's shut down. See that there? It's shut down. How come all these places are shut down and we spent all that money? Yep. Why haven't the Republicans investigated that, right? That's interesting, isn't it?
Associated Press Player of the Year after leading unbeaten and top-ranked Hoosiers to their first Big Ten championship since 1967.
Standard Club of Chicago, former migrant shelter, millions and millions of dollars spent here, yet it's shut down. 5:18 p.m.
Traffic sponsored by Consumers Credit
December
Union
11,
to the roads in
2025.
Slowdowns in Northwest Indiana. Westbound, you're heavy from I-65 to Kennedy Avenue. Eastbound, heavy spots from Torrance to Burr. Southbound Cicero still jammed up there from the 16th to the Stevenson, but that overturned semi from earlier. Only one lane open. Take Pulaski instead if you got to be out that way. The Edens, 55 minutes now inbound from Lake Cook to the junction. So hang in there. Outbound, much better. Just heavy from Dempster to Old Orchard. It's about an 18-minute trip for you. The Kennedy, it's an hour 5. You're stop and go from Cumberland all the way to Ogden. In 32 minutes from the junction, outbound heavy, the Jane Byrne interchange up to Harlem. It's 30 minutes to Montrose, 52 O'Hare. The Eisenhower is an hour and 22 inbound, 48 from Manheim. It's 50 on the outbound side just to Manheim, and then an hour 8 to the Jane Addams Stevenson. It's an hour in from I-355 to DeSable Lakeshore Drive, an hour 3 going out. Dan Ryan inbound, so Stevenson.
So think about that, what we just seen. A place that got millions of dollars, millions. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands. We're talking about millions. They were making $100,000 to $200,000 a month in rent. That means in 1 year, that's $1 million just in rent. What other money they were getting? What other money they were getting? We don't know. We don't know. Yet, it's closed. Here's the second part of what I am doing this. I'm collecting all of this now, and I'm going to put it together for a big story. If they were open for the migrants and they let the migrants stay there, why didn't we keep it open for the Americans? Why are there Americans sleeping on sidewalks? Why do Americans have to sleep on sidewalks? Why don't we keep those shelters open? So that's why I keep asking, why aren't the Republicans investigating this? Because they're involved in it. That's why. The Republicans and Democrats are both involved. They both made money. They both ripped us off. That's why they're not investigating this, because it doesn't make sense. If we could be open for the migrants and we had all that money to pay, look, somebody paid for that hotel. Somewhere that money came from somebody. Somebody paid for the food. Somebody paid for all of that stuff that the migrants wrote. We got videos of it. Here, they try to tell you it didn't happen. That's what these Republicans, if you look at the MAGAs, the really weird MAGAs, they'll say, oh, that didn't happen. Oh, that was last year. That don't mean anything. Wait, what do you mean? There was millions of dollars spent here. What happened to it? And why are we investigating it? Where did the money go? And no one's doing that. And now we're going to do that. Now we're going to work on that story, right? Because there's a lot of these migrant shelters. This is why I'm saying this. If we spend all that money on these places, two things. And they were used as shelters. Why don't we use them as shelters for Americans? First of all, because we don't have that many homeless. That's why. We don't have that many homeless in Chicago. We don't. We don't. It's a lie. That's why. I showed you last night there's no tents on the south side. Strange, isn't it? In the black areas, there's no tents. It's a fake thing. It's set up that way. It's a fake thing to set up for money. So here's the second part of that, right? If we spent all that money on that building, why isn't it being used? Whether it's a shelter or not, I don't care then. We can do a second argument. But if we spent millions of dollars on a business, which hotels and buildings are businesses, then why is it closed today? What did the guy do with all our money? Where did that... See, there has to be an investigation of where the actual money went. So it went from us, the taxpayer. The government's got the money. Someone made a decision to pay these hotels. I just showed you two already. Standard Club and Inner Chicago. They're both owned by the same guy. We wrote about that stuff. And then they got millions of dollars. Okay, that's cool. That's America. We're capitalism. We should do that. We should make millions. But where's the money now, right? Where is that money? That's the bigger question, right? Whose bank account did all that money go into, right? And that's what we got to start asking those questions, right? Follow the money. All right, so here we're going to see if there's anybody sleeping over here, right? I think they cleaned it up here, right? Now, there's some cardboard there. You see that? So you see, there's people living here on cardboard. This is a closed Robert Morris University. Why aren't we taking over the university and letting the homeless sleep in there? There's a cardboard there. You see that there? Someone's sleeping out here at night. Someone's sleeping here. See that? Why is this guy sleeping outside? Why aren't they sleeping inside this abandoned building, which is a university, which the city should take over? Or why ain't he sleeping at here? There's a guy right there. He's right here. Look. He's right there. See him? That's his bed right there, the cardboard. See that there? So why don't these guys have places to sleep? Look, at the worst case scenario, you see this library? That's Harold Washington Library. You know how much... They have a lot of room in there, right? Why don't they let them sleep in the library in the basement or something where it's warm? Because they have to have... Look at all of this space here. They can sleep in here. We pay for the heat and the bills and the water in there. Make a room for them, right? Where are we at? That's the Standard Club. It's right there. I just showed you the place that got millions of dollars. Millions of dollars are in that place. But yet there's a guy sleeping on cardboard over there. Don't ever tell me that a guy thinks it's cool to sleep on cardboard and he'd rather sleep on cardboard. That's a lie. I get it. People don't like the shelters. I understand that. I understand the shelter system. I get that. But there's no one. If you said you want to sleep inside where it's warm and you can be on your own and we'll watch you, make sure you don't get messed with, versus sleeping on a cardboard on the outside when it's 0 degrees, I think the person will say, yeah, I'll sleep inside. See, these are all false narratives put out by liberals, right? Liberals say, oh, they want to be homeless. Oh, they're addicted. Oh, they're mentally ill. I don't think people choose to live in a cardboard on a sidewalk. That's not homelessness there. That's not a homeless person. Here, why am I talking this way? I've been homeless. I've been on drugs. I've been drinking. I've been in trouble. I've done all of that stuff. Years and years ago, I've done that stuff. Years and years ago, I got out of my stuff. I did whatever I needed to do. I cleaned up my act, and then I did stuff, right? I raised a family. I got some jobs. I did all of these things. So I understand what it is to be homeless. I understand the whole issues there, right? But no one says, well, I think I want to sleep on a sidewalk on a cardboard. No one says that. There is no person who says that. It's impossible to even say things like that. When people respond to me like that on my Facebook or my Twitter or anywhere else, now I'm getting death threats on my website. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at all these buildings. Look at all that space, and why they can't leave the homeless sleep in that lobby there. You know they have cleaning people. Look at that in there. Look at all that space in there. Homeless can just sleep there. You just cordon off an area there. Let them sleep over there. It ain't no big deal. They're just gonna sleep. Give them a toilet. Maybe do a portable shower in there, and that's it. Oh, that's messy. No, you clean it up. You wake them up at maybe 5, 6 in the morning, and they get up, take a shower, and they go. So imagine this. They get a warm place to sleep. And I said this, get an NGO that gives them food. Get a plate of food in the morning. Look at this whole place. Look. How many homeless people can sleep in here at night? How many homeless people can sleep in here at night? Look at that. A whole bunch. You can, look, that whole service counter is shut down. There's no one there at that service counter. You can put little barricades there at night. I mean, I'm not talking about sleep there all day. I'm saying at night, temporary shelter. Who wants to sleep out of the cold? Look, there's a gate there. There's a gate right there. Don't you see it? Why aren't we doing that? If the mayor says, look, if he says he's progressive, why aren't we using that building? He talks about the billionaires and the millionaires not doing their fair share. Like, no, the government's not doing their fair share. Why? Look at all that space. How many homeless people can stay in there on this? Don't you think they would rather stay in there than sleep on a sidewalk in a cardboard? Come on, man. Come on. Don't be lying like that. That's a lie, right? We're going to listen to the 5:30 news now, okay? Because they're going to give a little more detail on that case where the officer got arrested, so got shot in the back.
We're pretty busy this afternoon. There's no doubt about it. And we'll start with the Edens. You are jammed from the spur ramp to Willow. We got a crash in a lane that was already pretty crowded there. Now we're talking about an hour in from Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound, it's 22 minutes. You're heavy from Toohey to Old Orchard. 'Tis the season, right? The Kennedy inbound, it's an hour 5 from O'Hare, 32 from the junction. Outbound, you are heavy from the Jane Byrne interchange to Irving Park. We've got a crash in the right center lane. Tipster landed. Way to be on it and letting us know in the WBBM Mercedes-Benz of Hoffman Estates traffic tip line at 855 780 Road, 32 to Montrose, now 50 to O'Hare. The Eisenhower, it's an hour 22 in from the Jane Addams to the Jane Byrne, 48 from Manheim. Outbound, you're heavy from the Byrne interchange all the way to 25th, 50 minutes for you to Manheim, an hour and 8 to the Jane Addams. The Stevenson, it's an hour in from I-355 to DeSable Lakeshore Drive. Outbound, it's an hour 3. I-55 in Will County, you're slow between Route 53 and I-355 in both directions. The Dam Ryan, it's 20 minutes in for you, 38 out. You're pretty heavy from the Jane Byrne to 18th and then purging all the way to the split. I-57 inbound, you're heavy from 127th to before 111th. We've got a crash in a lane there. 20 minutes in for you, 18 on the outbound side. DeSable Lakeshore Drive northbound, you're heavy Roosevelt to Chicago, southbound North Avenue to Chicago. From the Metro Traffic Center, your next traffic at 5:38 on News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Cloudy tonight with some snow flurries at times. Steady or snow south and west, maybe an inch, a low near 20. Right now, 25 degrees at 5:29.
I'm going to make sure we get the local news because they gave a little more details usually at the half-hour one. All these buildings, look at that. That building. It's got all that space. That's all that space is empty. Think about it. The city, the state, the county, and the feds paid private companies, landlords, to put migrants in their buildings. Yet they won't do that for American homeless. Why not? That's the big question. What was the migrant thing really about? I don't think we're ever going to get that solved because there is no investigations. No one's investigated. And the Republicans are in charge of everything and they haven't done that investigation.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Lisa Fielding. Here are the top stories on News Radio WBBM.
This is Nancy Hardy.
CPD failed to protect Crystal.
The mother of a Chicago cop shot and killed by her partner accuses the Department of Negligence in a lawsuit.
There's a new push to give Chicago police more tools to head off those so-called teen takeovers. I'm political editor Jeff Buckles at City Hall with the latest proposal to change curfew laws.
Indiana Republicans resoundingly vote to reject a new congressional map that would have given their party an edge in next year's midterms. And lawmakers on Capitol Hill failed twice to pass legislation that would extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies expiring at the end of the year. In business,
some fresh record highs on Wall Street today after that Fed rate cut. The Dow soaring 646 points higher. The S&P up 14. The Nasdaq, though, down 60. I'm Tom Busby at Bloomberg.
Right now, we've got cloudy skies, 25 degrees. The news continues at 5:31, sponsored by Lou Malnati's Deep Dish Pizza. Topping our news this half hour, the family of Officer Crystal Rivera is accusing the Chicago Police Department of negligence. This is after she was shot and killed by her partner during a police chase this summer. WBBM's Nancy Hardy has new details about the civil lawsuit that was filed today.
Where is justice for Crystal?
Yolanda Rivera says that and accountability from the Chicago Police Department are the goals of her lawsuit. Attorney Antonio Romanucci says Rivera and her police partner dated for 2 years, and she broke off the relationship after learning he was living with another woman.
She told her supervisors that Carlos Baker was reckless. That's why I can tell you with confidence the Chicago Police Department knew. They knew at all times.
The wrongful death lawsuit claims the department ignored Rivera's request to get a new partner despite nearly a dozen misconduct complaints against Baker. CPD would not comment on the pending litigation, but has said in the past Rivera's shooting as the officers chased a gunman into an apartment was a tragic accident. Nancy Hardy, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Now to City Hall, where Chicago aldermen are getting a look at the latest attempt to rewrite the city's curfew ordinance to help police shut down so-called teen takeovers before they start. Here's WBBM political editor Jeff Buckles.
Downtown Alderman Brian Hopkins' previous idea would have let police call a curfew in a specific area with 30 minutes notice. This time, that's out.
The general belief was that just wasn't enough time for notification.
Now he's proposing giving police the ability to call a curfew with 12 hours notice. And a companion proposal would require social media platforms to take down messages promoting those events. Hopkins says last month's shootings in the Loop after the city's official tree lighting ceremony appear to have convinced more of his colleagues to support the plan.
The curfew, had it been available on that evening, could potentially have prevented that fatal incident.
Alderman approved the earlier curfew proposal, but Mayor Johnson vetoed it. We're at City Hall. Jeff Buckles, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
And Mayor's office says, in part, they're reviewing the proposal and that they appreciate the alderman's commitment to looking for strategies to continue to bring down violent crime. Now in Indiana, a major rejection of pressure from...
So 2 things we just heard locally, right? Forget that GOP crap. That's crap. Who wants to listen to that remapping con game, right? That's a con game. Who wants to listen to that stuff? But think about what we just heard on the radio. I messed up. I should have kept going on Lake Street. I messed up. Sorry. I got to go around in a circle. What did we just hear? 2 cases. The Crystal Rivera said, that guy is dangerous. I don't want to work with him. We broke up as boyfriend, girlfriend. And then he killed her and they covered it up. What about the curfew? Everybody said, Brandon Johnson, we need a curfew. We need a curfew. He vetoed the curfew, and then a kid got murdered. See, that family of that 14-year-old, whatever happened, they should sue Brandon Johnson. We just heard those 2 stories. One lady is dead because the cops ignored her. The second story, the kid, the 14-year-old kid, I think his name was Amari, right? I think his name is Amari. I don't know everything. I can't remember everything. But that 14-year-old kid should be alive. If there was a curfew, he might be alive today. Instead, what? They just said it. Brandon Johnson vetoed the curfew law. That kid should be alive, just like Crystal Rivera. Imagine that. We have a government that doesn't keep its citizens safe. That's some dangerous stuff, man. That's really dangerous.
Also argued it would instead prolong the disaster.
Mr. President, Obamacare has failed so badly that Democrats continue to use taxpayer dollars to try to hide
the failures.
But the Senate also rejected a GOP proposal to create new health savings accounts. After that,
January 1st is coming. Republicans are responsible for what happens next. This is their crisis now, and they're going to have to answer for it.
While at the White House,
the president is working with his healthcare policy team here at the White House, as well as Republicans on Capitol Hill, to find a solution.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
In health news, some doctors say the upcoming flu season could be a rough one.
Infectious disease expert Dr. Mark Allendieri says the biggest challenge this flu season isn't just the number of cases, it's the strain itself. A new variant emerged after this year's vaccine was formulated.
The virus H3N2 that's circulating right now is not well protected by the current vaccine.
Derry says this mismatch is why doctors expect a tougher season nationwide. Courtney P. for CBS News, New Orleans.
Coming up in a minute, low gas prices. Another look at your traffic and weather next.
Now through January 5th.
I'm trying to figure these things out because I think that was this. Did you see at 5:30 they said more details? She was the boyfriend. They were boyfriend, girlfriend. She said I don't want to be with him, and they put her with him, and then he killed her. There is no accident. He killed her. They should charge everyone involved with murder. Think about this. They sue our city when a dope dealer gets shot. They paid dope dealers a dope dealer just got $17 million. A dope dealer just got $17 million for being shot. They didn't say he was innocent just because he was shot. They paid him. That was a case that just came up 2 weeks ago. $17 million. They never said he was innocent. Imagine this. Crystal Rivera was an innocent, good, hard-working, cop. She got murdered by her own partner when her supervisors didn't listen to her. That's something bad. This is what I wrote about Crystal, though. If you look at her past, she was pro-vaccine. She was hired around Lightfoot's time. They actually did a story on her. I think this is her, Crystal Rivera. That's where her picture comes from. They did a story on her. She was pro-vaccine. I don't want to start a conspiracy here. You got that? It might just be a simple boyfriend-girlfriend, but maybe that's why the upper brass of CPD just said, yeah, we're not going to listen to her. But something happened. All those somebody wrote it here on the comments. All those lieutenants and sergeants and whoever's in charge should be investigating. They should be actually removed from power. It's like the one recording I have where they said, the cop was saying, oh, I see the guy with the guns. He's right in front of me. I'm going to go get him. And the cop said, don't get him. And then they killed somebody afterwards. Same thing with the kid who got killed downtown. There was no curfew because of what? Brandon Johnson. We need to do something about this. All these people need to be removed because they're causing death in our city. We just heard two people killed. The kid and Rivera got killed in our city, and they could have been preventable.
Earlier overturned semi and fuel spill, still only one lane open. Seriously, take Pulaski or Central instead. We got a crash on the Edens. You're inbound heavy from the spur ramp to Willow Road and then Dempster to the junction. It's an hour from Lake Cook to the junction. 20 on the outbound side. You're slowed down, just hitting the brakes from Peterson to Toohey. The I-190 O'Hare extension, if you got to grab somebody at the airport, eastbound, you're heavy from Bessie Coleman to the Tri-State. Westbound, slow the Tri-State to Manheim. On the Eisenhower, we've got an accident.
So we're going to continue to do our migrant tour today. We're going to continue migrant tours. And where did all that millions go? Well, if you got murders of people, if you got drug dealers, if you got homeless people, you got all of these weird things happening, guess what happens? It's a chaos. And then you do racism, blacks, white supremacists, Ku Klux Klans, GDs, you do Asians, you do migrants. Then you throw a hurricane in there, maybe some flooding, maybe a bus crash, maybe a train crash. Guess what? That's a lot of chaos there, right? The chaos. We don't see them stealing our money. That migrant stuff was stealing our money. That's what that was. A bunch of people became really rich off that migrant stuff. Really rich. They stole our money. That migrant stuff was money stealing.
A lot of clouds, a low of 3.
That's what that was. Nothing else, nothing more. It was a scam. Some of those people should have been out. And I've said this, right? Some of those migrants, they work for the CIA. They're like that Afghanistan guy who just killed one of our soldiers. He worked for this. He was a CIA asset who killed our soldier. Think about this. How come they weren't tracking that guy? This guy was a CIA agent that used to kill people in Afghanistan. That guy who killed a soldier in DC. You weren't tracking him? This guy was a killer. He killed people in Afghanistan. You weren't tracking him? He was traveling whatever he wanted to do all over the country. And he ended up killing one of our soldiers, shooting another one. Same thing with Crystal Rivera. Same thing with Amari, who got shot downtown. These were all preventable crimes. They're not like, they keep saying it's isolated, it's one of a kind.
Water says you can promise shared outings, a date.
You kind of get it? They keep saying, oh, it's isolated, it's a random crime, it's this. No, it's not. The Afghanistan killer, that's not a random crime. He was a CIA killer. That wasn't random. Crystal Rivera's crime wasn't an accident. That was not an accident. It was murder, premeditated murder. Again, there's no way, if there's any cops on my show, tell me, is there a way to shoot your partner in the back? Do you pull your gun when you're in back of the person? Are you kidding me? Well, who does that? All the training is against that. There's no training where you pull a gun and it's in the person's back. She was shot in her back, square in her back. It wasn't like deflected off her shoulder or off her ears. It was a mistake. There's no training that allows you to pull a gun on somebody's back. No training. There is no training, military, civilian, or cop, that says pull a gun while there's somebody in front of you. You can't go to a gun range and have a gun out when there's somebody in front of you. It's all against all the training. There's no training that lets you pull a gun out and there's somebody in front of you. There's no training. So that means it was premeditated. He wanted to kill her. He seen the opportunity and he killed her. That's complicity with her supervisors. Right? Same thing with the kid downtown. There was a curfew. They didn't do the curfew. Brandon Johnson vetoed the curfew. Kid's dead. Who's responsible? Brandon Johnson. There you go, Steve, right? Is there any training in guns? Any gun training where you would if you pull a gun out at a gun range and there's somebody in front of you, guess what? They remove you from the gun range, and if it's a good gun range, they'll pull your FOID card from you. You can't have a gun when there's somebody in front of you, you can't have a gun out. There's no training not even military. There's no training like that. How do you have a gun in her back, right? Yeah. And guess what? How many months now is it? How many months is it? They still say it's an accident. The cop still says it's an accident. How is it an accident when they were boyfriend, girlfriend, and she's dead? How is that an accident? How is that an accident? It's not an accident. They shouldn't have been together, first of all. If they're sleeping together, they shouldn't be in the same unit. Right? You can have relationships at work, as long as it's in supervisor subordinate, right? But you can have a relationship at work. It's not illegal. But you shouldn't work in the same unit, the same department. That you should separate. And then if there's a separation or if there's some negativity, then you need to take action to protect one or the other and separate them. That's how that works. I did some of those cases when I was a field rep at the CTU. I'd said you need to transfer. When there was a breakup, I would say you need to transfer. I remember one, they put them on a different floor. Boyfriend, girlfriend, or girlfriend, girlfriend, and they were arguing. And they said, oh, we put them on a different floor. And I went to the Board of Education. I said, nah, man, you need to transfer one or the other, man. That's not how this works. You can't have them in the same building, man. So if there's a cop that has a relationship and it breaks up, I get it. I get it. You can't just do that for everybody. But hey, this one led to somebody's death. And the mom now saying, yeah, they knew about it. That's messed up. That's messed up. All right, we're going to another shelter over here.
Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Yeah, Marietta, that's not an accident. And what do they keep saying? It's an accident. The first, Steve listened to my radio broadcast night. The first calls were that it was suspects and they were chasing him. Think about this, and I think the guy gave up. I don't remember how he surrendered. I think someone helped him surrender. He surrendered somehow. But think about it. If they would have killed that suspect, quote, they would have covered the whole case up. Think about it. And they're supposed to have all this on video cameras. Have they ever released the video cams of this case yet? None. They all have body cams, don't they? Where's the body cam of this shooting? Where's the body cam of this shooting? They release all these body cams, don't they? Dexter Reed, oh, it's a bad shooting. Give them $50 billion. Why haven't they released the body cam of this one? Huh? That's a public thing. It's not has to do with a court case. They have a mandate. They haven't released the body cam of this shooting. Not one. Why not? Because they know it was a bad shoot. They know it was a bad shooting. They're covering that crap up. And they're not covering up the killing of a cop. They're covering up the corruption that's inside of the police department. And the corruption, it's political DEI corruption. And I don't mean that it's racism. DEI means they hired political people rather than people who wanted to be cops. And they're protecting the politics rather than doing their job as cops and protecting us as citizens, right? There was a lady that was raped today on the CTA. There was a lady that was raped at Northwestern Hospital by a homeless guy that there was 50 arrests on him. We just put that story up today. 50 arrests. 50. By a homeless psychotic criminal. There you go. You know it, Steve.
Left-handed reliever Kobe Milner.
They're covering all this shit up. Why? Because this is what's going to happen. They're creating crime. They're creating chaos. When you have chaos, you can do whatever you want, right? And steal money, hire your buddies, whatever you want. That's one part of chaos, corruption, right? But the second part of chaos, and the more dangerous part of it, and we have to be careful of this, is this is what happened out of 9/11. And this is why there's so many conspiracy theories about 9/11. When you have a bad thing that happens, the government reacts. And then they do what? They take away our rights. Remember when 9/11 happened? Before 9/11, we didn't have to get searched to go on a plane. Remember those days? I used to fly all the time. I used to fly once a week. When I was younger, I used to fly once a week out of Midway. It used to be like a bus for me. I had a girlfriend in Minneapolis. I used to go see her every weekend. Every weekend. I did that for about a year. Every weekend I get on the plane, go walk on and go. There was no searching. We didn't have searches. I didn't get searched. We got on the plane. Well, you could take a beer with you. You could take cigarettes. In the old days, really old days, you could smoke on planes. Whatever. We can't do nothing now. So the point I'm trying to make, there's two things of the chaos theories, right? First, they steal, right? When there's a lot of chaos, they can do whatever they want. The second part of that is when it gets so bad, then they'll say, oh yeah, we have to take away your freedoms. We have to do curfews. We have to do inspection of guns. We have to inspect your cars. We have to do all of this stuff. So they use it to take away our rights. That's what they're doing, right? And you're going to see some of this stuff is going to happen. So that's just some radio calls. We're going to go to another shelter. We're doing shelter tours today, right? That's where I'm going to. This is some radio calls because that's a lot of talking for me. I don't want to talk too much. Sorry about it.
Hey, 01 Sam. Sorry, 01 Sam. Hey, what's that bill again over there? I got a question.
Sorry, yes. Sorry, who wanted to take one?
5700 Adam. Maybe a PH up. Yeah, where you at? Going eastbound at 290 and I'll get local lane 3. Frank Lincoln 6117. That's a black Jeep Cherokee. Red Cherokee. Alright, so for PH with. Go ahead. Eastbound 290 from Austin, local lane number 3, Frank Lincoln 61197. It's a black Jeep Grand Cherokee. Yeah, we're gonna go north. Have to go on first on that. We'll reach out to you on the list. PH1, I got you getting gas, 10-4. Alright, 5700, Adam, I'll put it out there, but PH1's getting some gas right now. Deal. But we are in traffic, going this way. Otherwise, 10-4. One 391, David. 391, David. I'm over here at the roads on the red. Can you run a deal for me? Yeah, go ahead. Rank 540765722247. Never. 7383 Fort Landing. Alright, never. 7391 David, you clear to copy? Alright, valid driver's license. Saying he's got a failure to appear on a dangerous drugs charge out of I can probably spread it. Just an alternative that Frank Lincoln 61197. It's just been going southbound at 33rd and
That's Chrome. We're going to switch to another browser and see if that's a little better. It's breaking up. Sometimes the radio calls get broken up like that depending on the browser. If it doesn't keep working, then I'll get on another one, right? I'll get on another phone, right? Here, Brandon Johnson said... Think about this. Brandon Johnson said he was going to decrypt all the radio calls. He didn't. You know why decryption's important? So you can hear what's happening on the police stations. The radio calls. So you can, that's accountability. That's what that is. Again, we were just talking about the Rivera case. In the beginning, they said there was a suspect. If they would have caught that guy and killed him, that would have been the end of the case. They said that was the killer of Rivera, right? They would have did that. You want to bet? They would have put it on that guy. There's a guy who ran away there. They were chasing the guy and they already knew that she got shot in the back. How come they said they were chasing the guy when she got shot in the back? That's kind of weird, ain't it? Think about the order of sequence of events here. They said there was what? A suspect. How was there a suspect when she got shot in the back? How the heck was there even a suspect? There is no suspect. If the suspects are in front of them and they're shooting at the suspects, how's there a suspect when the bullet wound went in their back? And then they were chasing the guy. Why is they going to kill the guy and they were going to frame that dude? That's what they were going to do. I'm pretty sure I got to look at my notes on that case. I think he surrendered somewhere. I don't know if they caught him or he surrendered because I was listening to the radio calls all night and I think I downloaded them all because that's an important case. There's another case like that too. There's another case. I'll tell that about this. So I downloaded all those. So it doesn't make sense that she gets shot in her back and there's a suspect that they were chasing, right? There's another case that happened on 55th right through 3 or 4 blocks east of the highway over there by the Burger King over there. Remember I showed you the shut down Burger King on Garfield over there? There was a girl, a lady who got murdered by her boyfriend. There was radio calls early saying there was a fight or something was happening. They didn't go out there. And then there was different radio calls of where she got shot. And then afterwards they made excuses. And the girl died then. God rest her soul. I talked to her dad. And I said, you need to get the radio calls. They knew what was happening. They heard the radio calls. And they didn't go out there and help her. It don't matter what you're involved in. It doesn't matter if you're doing something or whatever. But if you call for the police or the police should be helping you, then they should help you no matter what. And that's the way I believe in. Now I have my own philosophies on other things and what other people do. But if you're in trouble, you need to get help. That's what the cops should be doing, and they're not doing that. There's a couple of cases, and I've downloaded all those records, right? And they're covering stuff up. So let's listen to these radio calls.
7391 3 boy.
It sounds better now.
7 boy. So to get sample for lunch. Hillary Clinton. Yes, 0. 5700. Just an update on that Frank Lincoln 61197. It just is going southbound on 33rd and Van Line. Lane number 2. Press lane 2, southbound the day and right at 33rd. 10-4. Charlie 1? Yeah, we copy. We're at 10-4. Just an update on that, Francis. Going, David. 7391, David, go ahead. But, any luck? Yeah, sorry. You have 171 in round. So far, thank you. We're going to be over here, 1151, South Street. Alright, so. 7380, ready? 7380, ready? Can we get lunch at 13th and Wabash? Yep, that is 09206. Report.
Citizen City Wise, I've got them progress at the office. Noise West Street, 7th Street, no Hudson Price, Delaware, all that movement. Message is on it.
01 Sam. 01 Sam. Hey, what's that bill again over there? I got a question. 312-746-9881. That's what I'll call now.
Unison 9 in the City Wise, getting a person with a gun, 364 West 51st Street, 2640 West 51st. Call take a male white deputy, employees with a gun, orange Honda CRV, just follow. I think it's over.
5:58 p.m., December 11th, 2025. This is the Lake Street Migrant Shelter here. Look, this used to be a weed shop, some kind of pipe weed shop. This is one of the first shelters that were here, right? It's in the West Loop. Again, spent millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars here. Look at that. It's empty. It's not open. It's shut down. See that there? This was a migrant shelter right here. I call this the Lululemon migrant shelter because Lululemon is right down the street. They used to break into there all the time. Right here. See that there? Available. Why is it available? 939 West Lake Street. Look it up. This is a migrant shelter. Why is it closed? Why isn't it used for homeless people? I got videos of all the stuff they threw out of here. They threw out beds and all kinds of stuff here. Right? This is the Lululemon migrant shelter because Lululemon is right here. They always break into this place here, stealing yoga pants. There used to be a whole bunch of migrants used to hang around here, breaking into places. Yeah, there you go. Lake Street Migrant Shelter. How come, what happened to that one? Where's all that money at? 5:58 p.m. Lake Street Migrant Shelter shut down. 5:58 p.m. December 11th, 2025. What happened to all this money? There used to be a lot of migrants used to hang here. They used to bust into the Lululemon down the street too.
Yeah, that's 09359 09361. Lunch, 13th Alright, 09319.
caught up on our radio calls.
797
So how many did you see so far in the last few days?
09359.
We seen the one in Ford City. We seen the one in Hyde Park. We just seen the Inner Chicago, the Sander Club, the Lake Street. All shut down. Weird, isn't it? So all those millions that we gave those landlords, you telling me you didn't use that money to make a business? That's strange, isn't it? I'm gonna listen to the live radio and see if it's snap, crackle, and popping. And these people don't even stop and look, man, around. They're really privileged out here, man. They don't even look when they're walking the street. They don't even stop, these people. Did you see them on that crosswalk? They don't even stop. They don't even look. They just keep walking. It's weird, man. Where do people like that come from? Are you ignorant or what? There's a lot around here. It's really bad. It's really bad. I mean, that's some ignorant stuff there. When you don't even look, you just keep walking into the street. I'm gonna listen to the live radio and see how bad it is.
Frequency mode.
And see if it's scratchy, right? And see if it's the internet or if it's the radio. So here, think about this. I stop, right? Whatever. But if you're walking, don't you stop, look, and listen? Isn't that what we were taught? Where are these people, like, where are they coming from? Like Mars, or where are they coming from? See, that's my live radio there, right? So I'm going to see if it's a little better. Yeah, we're doing a little tour of the migrant shelters right now. Yeah, it's weird. All these people in this area, they're the Google people. These are people that aren't really from Chicago. They got a lot of money. They got this bubble money, the AI money, right? And we'll see it's sustainable, right? I hope our city grows and it gets good, right? And that's what I always hope for, right? I don't want people to fail. I'm not into failure, right? Even like Brandon Johnson, I don't want him to fail. I'm not rooting for him to fail. I'm not saying that. I want him to succeed every day. But the point is when he's corrupt and he harms teenagers, black teenagers, and he vetoes curfew laws.
It's got an EMS run over at the Midway Orange Line, 4612 West 59th Street. CK is calling in an ambulance for a male on the head car of the train, breathing but not responding.
Overdose.
Car number 2634.
2634.
Male, black clothing with a safety vest. Fire's responding and they're asking for police. 4612 West 59th Street.
4612 59th Street. Orange Line. Overdose.
It's train car 2634, the head car of the train.
2634. Orange Line train car. Overdose. Show you the next spot, right? And we'll listen to some radio calls. Maybe they're a little better over here, right? Got better reception, maybe. So this is the Ogden shelter. You just seen a newscast about this one, right? Right there. There used to be a whole bunch of them. Right there. Right? There used to be a whole bunch of stuff going on at that place.
Yeah, can we get two down there? 95 red, one north, one south. Yep, north end 09310, south end 0912. 3 David. 738 David. So I can get two of the numbers, please. West end, one for the turn south. Yeah, 09334, 09335. Simple, thanks.
Putting in this in three, I got a criminal trespass in progress at BT10.
Yeah, that's 09359, 09361.
That's the Ogden shelter in front of you.
738 down. Lunch, 13th City. Alright, 4735.
Must be the internet's bad, huh? But the sky is clear. That's strange.
EMS run over at the Midway Orange Line, 4612 West 59th Street. CTA is calling in an ambulance for a male on the head car of the train, breathing but not responding. Car number 2634. Subject is a male, black clothing with a safety vest. Fire's responding and they're asking for police. 4612 West 59th Street. 7303.
Fire's responding, but they're asking for police.
7303. It's train car 2634, the head car of the train.
For the unit that's with us, it's West 6 South of apartment 505, regarding exit. And says that he has a mental person who's on the call for that. But he's the real Adam Kumar,
There you go. You got a tent right there in the middle of the road. Why ain't the cops and the police? See, think. Why ain't the cops removing that guy? That's an illegal encampment right there. It's an illegal encampment. Yet the cops do nothing until somebody gets hurt. Right? Like Rivera, she was just murdered, right? The cops don't do nothing because they're what? They're connected to the politics, and I keep been saying this for a few years. The cops need to stop that. They have to do their job. Their job is to protect us, not the politicians. Again, one more time, right? There you go. Why ain't the cops removing that guy? Who's telling the cop not to remove him, right? Who tells the cop not to remove him? And then the cop listens to that person? We just had a cop just got murdered. That's a murder case, man. That ain't an accident. And then they're covering it up. So we're going to talk about this place, right? We're going to pull into this parking lot here, right? This is the Ogden shelter. There's a whole newscast about this. Right, there you go. It's right there. Right? It's not open, right? There you go. 344 North Ogden, right? 6:11 p.m., December 11, 2025. This is the 344 North Ogden shelter. There's a news station doing some reporting on this one. There was a lot of people in this one. This is a co-ed family shelter here. Look at it. There ain't nobody here. You see anybody? I don't know if it's being used or what it was. Again, they spend a whole bunches of millions of dollars here, and it's not being used. Why isn't it being used as a homeless shelter? If this was used as a migrant shelter to sleep and to eat, to take care of people, why wasn't this used, and why isn't it being used as a migrant shelter? Maybe because it was a shell. Maybe the whole migrant thing was a scheme. Maybe it was a money laundering scheme to launder money through the buildings, through the associations, through the owners for politics for Biden's election. How about that? Or Kamala Harris's elections. We haven't substantiated it yet, but most of the people who worked at these shelters, especially this one, they were chasing me out of this one, were out-of-state young people. And I think there were young Democrats that were working for politics. And that's what we have. And that's why it's empty now, because it was never meant to be a shelter. It was never meant to help anybody. It was just meant to what? Launder money. Again, what happened to all the millions of dollars that happened in this building? Why isn't it being used as a shelter today? Why? Because it was a scam from the beginning. And why isn't it being investigated? Because the Republicans are part of the Democrats. They were both in on the scam. There you go. (6:11 p.m.) Ogden Shelter, 344 North. Ogden, former migrant shelter. Same story here. Shut down building, millions of dollars spent here. Not being used to house homeless Americans. This is politically connected building. We know that. And there's a lot of gentrification going on around here. There's somebody going in that building there. No, she is not. Let me get out of the way here. No, there's a lady that got out of her car. I thought she was going into the building. No, she's not. Right. Again, millions of dollars spent. (6:11 p.m. December 11, 2025). It's over and over again. How come all these buildings are abandoned? It's starting to be a pattern here, right? If these buildings were used as shelters, why aren't we using them for homeless Americans, right? This is not, you're what? This is live. I'm not making this stuff up. Again, I thought the lady was coming in here to work. There's a lady that got out of a car here. And there's a lot of stuff. A guy raped his child here. There's our child rapist living in here. A migrant child rapist. He raped his child. This is a bad shelter here. They had a lot of bad stuff happen. Stabbings and stuff. Right. Again, right? I went here, they chased me around. The guys that used to work here, I got videos of all this. Just punch in the address. You can find it on Facebook, or you can find it on Twitter. I made it so they don't erase my stuff. Right here, this is the parking lot here. I got a video when I was videotaping them from the sidewalk. This is the shelter. Look, there's nobody here. I was videotaping. All of them had every car in this lot had out-of-state plates. Every car did. That's the shelter right there. See that? Every car had out-of-state plates, and I was videotaping, and they came out, and they threatened me. And I videotaped them, right? There you go. You got some weird stuff here. Look, 345 North Ogden. So now, if you start looking at it, they got some weird Smash Video Studio. I don't know what the heck that is there. What is that? Something there? What is that? I have to look that up. Smash Videos. Smash Studios, I mean. I can't see that. And then Music Building. The Music Building. I don't know what that is. So what did they use the money for that? That's weird. So it didn't go to fix the community. It went to some. It went to some private thing there, it looks like, huh? It's closed though, that building.
That was on event 09481. 09481.
Alright, I'm gonna take a little break here. Oh. I need to get something to eat. Getting some tea.
Yeah, that's 09359 09361. 3211? 7338. I'm going down. Lunch, 13th Michigan. Alright, 4612 West 59th Street. CTA is calling in an ambulance for a male on the head car of the train, breathing but not responding. Car number 2634. Subject is a male, black clothing with a safety vest. Fires responding in their answer. 4612 West 59th. 7301 7303.
Hey, on the call while I meet you. I find the data center at a line at 0520 hours this morning. EMS call here. Was that just strictly a call, or was that would be off to the science?
Let me go into the annex to replace my battery. 10-4. 7303. 7303. Yeah, you could do with the ambulance 54 going to Holy Cross. 10-4. That was on event 09481. 09481. 10-4. 7301 Sam, information. 7301 Sam. Hey, regarding the call, you find that offender at Pleasant Lake Blue Line at 0520 hours this morning. EMS was called there. Was that just strictly a CFD call, or was that was the officer assigned to it? Okay, for the call at 0520 this morning? At 10-4. It was a separate call of the EMS for that offender of that CSA. Okay, what station was that at that they called for the ambulance? That was Pleasant Lake Blue Line, the YC Center, around 0520 hours this morning. Okay, let me look.
That's the rape that happened. They're talking about the rape case.
5700 Adam. 5700 Adam.
That's the rape case. The lady got raped.
Just for information, there was this unit on this for broadcasting a stolen Dodge Charger, Eddie Frank 36562, I believe. He has eyes on it. I'm not sure where it's at. Last I heard, it's somewhere on here to 90.
This is the Walnut Shelter here. Looks like there's some activity here. We'll see if they're using this building here. This has got all kinds of weird NGOs all around here. It looks like they might be using this building. What was interesting about this shelter, which all the shelters had them, this one had a lot of vehicles around there and kids playing in the street. This was a family shelter also, like the Ogden one over there. And the Irving Park one. Looks like there's a car entertaining company, it says there on that thing. Oh, so that's the company. Looks like it's here. Who are they? We gotta look up that company there. Entertaining Concept. 312-829-2800, entertainingcompany.com. So I guess it was a shelter and now it's an entertaining company, I guess. Now that's alright. At least it's being used. At least it ain't like the other stuff. Oh no, it's empty. There, it's empty. Let me show you this. It's empty. I'll show you inside here. There ain't nothing in there. It's empty. That's empty. They're not using it. I'll show you guys this on the live feed. There you go. It's empty, right? See that there? It's empty inside. It's not being used. There you go. So 1644, there used to be a shelter. This part is not being used. It doesn't look like. Hey, they have some cars parked around it, but yeah, that's not being used. I'll have to look into this one then too, huh? Here's another building not being used. Looks like the garage is being used for some entertainment company, but the main part isn't. This is another building where there was a lot of people with out-of-state plates working here. And when I was on the sidewalk filming, they got all mad at me. I think one guy threatened me over here. I gotta pull all my videos of all these threats and try to figure out who these people were. Like I said, I think there were a lot of them were Democrat political operatives and union operatives. I have a couple of 2-3 years of videos of these. And you don't see nobody around here, right? It's not being, why isn't this being used as a homeless shelter or something, right? That's what I'm figuring out. Where did the money go? Right? Right? And we're going to end up on the Elston shelter, and that'll be the end of our broadcast today, I think. We'll end up over there. That was a big one over there. Remember the Elston shelter? Hey, that guy tried to kill me over there. There's a guy that tried to kill me. We got videos inside of some of these.
7383 David. Clyde, we got lunch please at 1517.
Kind of wild, huh? We spend all that money on the migrants. And I think one of the things that came out of it, one of the things that came out of all that migrant stuff is, oh yeah, it's to stimulate the economy. We're spending money, right? So the economy goes.
David, you broke up. 1517.
That's why I'm doing this video right now, right?
Taylor Street, can I have my number, please? Got the rest of it there. 09725.
The purpose of these videos is because I did this for 2 years. Every day I videotaped each one of these things. I have 2 years of videos of these. I got fights. I got drug deals. I got all prostitution at these places. I got all kinds of crimes that happen. But why I'm doing it now is to document that we spent all the money there and then it didn't result in nothing, right? Our next stop is the Elston shelter. That'll be the end of our broadcast tonight. And everybody knows there was 2 homicides. There was 6 shootings, 2 homicides last night in less than 10 hours, right? I'm not even counting the one that was on 74th Street. I'm not counting the one that was on 74th Street. That would have made it 7. I'm talking about after I stopped broadcasting last night, there was that many cases. 2 homicides. Did any news media report on that? I don't think so. We're going to the Elston shelter. That's our next stop. Well, yeah, I don't mind me telling where I'm going. It might end whatever I'm dealing with the threats, too. In the end, you want that to end, right? And sometimes it'll have a happy ending, it might have a bad ending. We'll see how that works out, too. No, I don't mind. I don't hide from nobody. I ain't scared of no drug dealers at all. 0. Looks like there's guys underneath here. See that there? There's guys here, man. Oh, I gotta fix this. One of my cameras just got loose here. I gotta fix it. You're gonna see a bunch of guys over here, right? See? And so these guys are blocking the sidewalk. Whatever. But why are they allowed to block the sidewalk, right? Right? You kind of get it? Why is there people chased out of one area and not chased out of another, right? It's kind of strange, isn't it? This whole sidewalk is blocked. See that there? Look at it. It's completely barricaded. Look at that. You'll have, imagine if you're handicapped and you need to use that sidewalk. You can't use that sidewalk. Look at it. It's completely barricaded. That whole sidewalk is barricaded. Look at that. Look at that. Is that normal? Is that how a city should operate? That they allow that to happen? I get it. That guy needs to have a place to stay, but he's barricaded the whole sidewalk there. Look at that. See that there? That whole sidewalk is barricaded. See that there? That whole sidewalk is barricaded. Why aren't the police taking care of that? Complete sidewalk. You have no access. The whole sidewalk is blocked. Sidewalk is completely barricaded over here. On Oakley. 6:30 p.m. December 11, 2025. Public access is blocked. Ah, that sounds delicious. How'd you cook the salmon? Oh, you baked it. How'd you season it? These are $1 million homes, by the way. So you got that guy barricading the sidewalk, and then you got, these are $1 million homes all up and down here, man. These are $1 million smack homes. These are $1 million smackaroos over here, man. And this ain't no joke. Now we're gonna end up right where I told you I'm going, right? These are $1 million smacks over here, man. This ain't 100,000 smacks. These are million smacks. Man, they converted all these old factories to condos. See that there? These are all, here, I'll show you this, right? Let me do this real quick. So why don't we do this? See these houses there? See those houses? That's... why don't we look up one of these fancy houses? 2442. 2238. Let's look up one of these houses here, right? What street am I on? I don't even know what street I'm on. So you got that guy that's homeless that barricaded the sidewalk, right? Let me go on this. Let me get off of this. Here, Facing history and ourselves. What did they privatize? There's a school right here, man. I think they sold it to a private company. Does it say? It doesn't say CPS there, does it? So they gave away that school there. 2238. Where are we at? We're on Ohio, right? Why don't we do this building here? We're gonna do this 22. We're gonna do 2236 West Ohio. Look at this. You're gonna see this fancy building here. Right there. See that building, right? You see those? Look at that. Look at that crazy ass building there. That looks expensive, don't it? We're gonna see actually how expensive that building is there, right? So you got a dude blocking the sidewalk down the street. See that building there? That crazy looking one there? Like the wild architecture there? There you go. All right, what is that? That's 2236 West Ohio, right? 2236 West Ohio, Redfin. Right. How much you guys guess? You want to see? There you go. That's why they let the homeless guy block the sidewalk 2 blocks from here. You see that there? Look at that. See that? That's that building right there. One more time. See that? See that? All right. $1.36 million, right? Let me show you what's going on in the city. You see that there? $1.4 million. That's that house right there. See that there? See that there? This school's been privatized. They kicked out all the minorities there used to be. This used to be Ukrainian village in this area and Puerto Ricans. The Puerto Ricans don't be paying that much money in the Ukrainians. You see that there? That's that building there. That's $1.4 million. If you go down the street, there's a homeless guy blocking the sidewalk down here. You see that there? It's gentrification of the whole city. That's not a Chicagoan living there. I bet you that. I bet you that's somebody else that ain't from the city. One more time. $1.4 million. Privatized building. Man, that's blocking the sidewalk down the street. Gentrification of the whole city. There you go. That's why they let crime. That's why they let drugs. That's why they let cops do whatever they want. They ticket people instead of fighting crime, instead of protecting the city and protecting working class, protecting immigrants, protecting migrants, protecting minorities, and protecting the poor. They allow crime to happen. Why? So they can sell buildings like that for $1.4 million. It's gentrification of the whole city. SubX.News. Ukrainian village. $1.4 million. Gentrification of the whole city. This tells you what's happening in our town. Why they let crime happen. Why they let the cops do whatever they want. Why they let the drug dealers do whatever they want. And why they let the homeless block sidewalks a block from here. Because they want to sell homes like this to people that aren't from our city. There's gentrification of the whole city. That's 1 point. I'm gonna keep it on there. That building, that house you're looking at, right in the middle, is 1.4 million.
Oh wow! 733
6:39 p.m. December 11th, 2025.
7385. I got it on the log.
2236 West Ohio.
All right, 735's got it, and I'm holding you on event 09859. 10-4.
There's no family, working class family that can afford that. None. That's a schemer house, right? That's gentrification. That's uber gentrification. It's hyper. There's no regular person that can afford that kind of a house. None. None of you watching this is going to afford that house. No human can afford that house. You can't afford the note on that. It's a different kind of a thing that's been going on for a little while, right? You're watching it. I'm not going to move from here till I post this story, right? So you've seen the migrants, the shelters that I'm being used, and the millions we spend there. So what's the logical conclusion besides this? Now we're going to go over to the Elston shelter. Where did the millions go? Right there. You're looking at the million. You're looking at the millions. That's the dude that just ripped you off on the migrant money. There's no other human being that can afford that. He's somehow involved in it, whether directly or indirectly, or some scam from the internet, or some stocks or bonds or pensions or whatever the crap they do to steal our money. Anybody on my broadcast can afford that house? Come on, man. Can anybody on this broadcast afford that house? I don't think so. There's a bunch of them here. There's more expensive ones here. This used to be a school. I don't think that's a school anymore. It's a private thing. They made a private school for those people. They threw out the minorities. Let's back up. Let's see if this is a school anymore. I don't know if this is a regular school. I don't have no clue anymore. But I don't see it. Usually a school has a sign on here. It don't have a sign, right? It says fashioning history in ourselves. I don't know what that means. That's not CPS. Choices in history. I don't know what that means, right? We're going to go backwards, right? Might be a closed school, right? I don't know. Maybe it's a school. Maybe I don't know what I'm saying, right? Maybe it's a regular school still. I don't know. I don't know what I say as I go. I don't see the sign anywhere, right? There's no school sign. It's, what's going on here, right?
733 Charlie. Can we VIN numbers for those building on the red line?
Is this still a school or what? Let me punch it in my computer. It might still be a school. It doesn't look like a school. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Lower level 09902.
Mitchell Elementary. So I guess it's still a school. I guess. I was wrong on that. It's not privatized. It's weird looking though, isn't it? It doesn't have signs here, but whatever. And the sidewalk ain't clean. It's really strange. I don't know what that means, man. Usually they clean the whole sidewalk. I don't know why that sidewalk isn't clean. Yeah, it looks like a school. I don't know what I'm talking about. Proud Mitchell Bobcat. I guess, yeah, that is a school there, huh? There you go. Let's keep moving, right? There's some more, man. You want to fool around with Redfin? Why don't you check these houses out? Check out 2208, 2206, 2204, 2202, or 2200. Look at those, all those up, Ohio. Check those all out. Check them all out. Onion powdered garlic on some salmon and baked. Oh man, that sounds so delicious. I can smell it in my car right now. We got one more stop to do, right? That's what I promised. One more. This used to be an open-air drug market many, many years ago. Ukrainian village. Now you see it's a hyper-gentrification. You got $1 million homes. One home is $1 million. There you go. Why don't you look at that one here? We're in Ohio still, right? There you go. You got some more right there. See that there? You got some more. See that there? Again, it's gentrification in the whole city. Where we used to see it when we grew up, we see neighborhoods or areas, right? Gentrify. Well, this is the whole city, right? Why is it the whole city? Because it's starting to be rapid paced gentrification. Because there's a lot of stuff that's happening all over the country. The East Coast is really expensive. They're starting to have a lot of natural disasters. New York is flooding. It's going to be underwater in about 100 or 200 years. Because it's an island, right? New York is an island. It's a peninsula more than anything. There's some islands there, Coney Island and others, but New York is built on right? A water table, right? A deep water table. And then the West has a lot of natural disasters too, and it's expensive. So where's the natural place to come? It's coming here, right? Into the middle of the country. We don't have it that bad. We have clean water. We don't have natural disasters here. I mean, we don't. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have wildfires. We don't have any of that stuff. Why? Because when it happened, when all those things happen over the years, we had these people who were a little bit educated that got together. They decided to make rules and laws like, you know, some of the first building codes come out of Chicago and New York, but Chicago too. The fire codes, a lot of them came out of Chicago. So a lot of the things that we experience on a daily in our daily lives, the rules and the standards come out of our city. People don't talk about that unless you know about that. And I don't know everything, and I'm not perfect there. Like I made a mistake about that school, right? And there's a lot of condos here. So that's why. And then I hate to say this, and God rest their souls, we kind of got lucky with the Chicago fire. Why? Because it burned everything down. It didn't burn everything down, burned a lot of things down, and we could start from scratch. And after the Chicago fire, they came up with what's called the Burnham Plan. Look it up, Burnham Plan. We posted it multiple times. They actually redesigned the whole city. And in the middle of the Burnham Plan, part of that, they did all these regulations, streets, parks, roads, highways, all of those things. It was capitalists working with utilitarianism, right? With utopian people, right? This is that time when everybody was thinking big. There's all the money that was coming in our country from the Industrial Revolution was making us the empire at the time. We were in the middle of being an empire already. So they said, we're going to design a city that's easy to navigate, that's not going to burn down again like it did in the Chicago fire. It's going to have clean water, and it can expand in the future. And that's what we're experiencing now. So now when you have places like New York, LA, even some southern cities where people are making a lot of money, they start to see they want to live in a stable city. Chicago is a stable city, no matter what you think, even with the crime. It's stable. Even the crime is stable, right? It's hard to say that type of a term, but it's a fact, right? So when you have a place that's stable, meaning what? Housing prices are stable. You have clean water. See those kids, they're looking in that residence there. You have clean water. You have good streets where you can travel around. That's why those bike lanes are anti the Burnham Plan, right? Then what? People want to live here, right? This is Ogden Avenue. If you look up Ogden Avenue, this used to have a flyover, what's called a flyover. They had where the trucks, this is like Archer Avenue. Had a flyover. All above us used to be a road. It had no stoplights. Like the Skyway. I don't know if you guys remember this. Ogden Avenue, maybe Marietta, you remember the Ogden Avenue flyover, right? It went all the way over here. Above us, there was a road. There's two roads here. Archer had one. Ogden had one. All the way down to Cicero. This thing went all the way down to the south side. I don't know if you guys know that. Up above us used to be on top of us. Archer had one. We had one on Damon. We had one on 39th. This went all the way over here. And went way down there. You remember? Yeah, there you go. The city was designed to move. It was designed... Oh man, I messed up. I should have went to the next one. You know what? I got a place where we're gonna end up at the Marshallfield Gardens. We're gonna go check out Elston Shelter, and then I'm gonna go over to the Gardens, and we're gonna see what if they're doing any drug dealing or whatever out there, bothering the residents. So the idea was you make a city that's expandable, that's friendly to who? Businesses, and friendly to the residents, right? So they can work and make money and be happy. That's why we made schools. That's why we made parks. That's why we have clean water. That's how we have a sewer system, blah, 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 blah. So now what happens? A couple of 100 years later, 150 years later, when other cities are getting messed up, they're overcrowded, they have natural disasters, they have floods, maybe they have more social unrest, or maybe they're very expensive, then what happens? People start looking around. That's why they allow crime in Chicago. Because why? Regular people who are raising their families, regular working schmoes, they have to work every day, go work at the Mexican joint, maybe go mop a floor, maybe work in a factory, UPS, maybe even sometimes people who are teachers, maybe, right? Those kinds of jobs, they want stable places so their kids don't get sold drugs, so they don't get raped while they're on the CTA or burned alive. So when they go to their car in the morning, like the guy the other day, he don't have to shoot some 14-year-old that's ripping his car off. Or if you go buy some popcorn and you're a retired firefighter, you don't get killed. Right? Regular people don't tolerate that. No one wants to deal with carjackers. No one wants to deal with robberies. Or what was it yesterday we heard on the radio, on the calls? They had multiple burglaries in the building. People don't want to deal with that. Come home and your place is burglarized. Or how about the one that I had, where the migrants were inside the girl's apartment during Thanksgiving last year? We broke that. So we broke the story of the trap houses. We broke the story of the migrant trap houses. That was SubX.News. We did that. We did that. No one else was doing that reporting. Migrant trap houses. That's when they were starting to transfer the migrants into private housing. Those are all Section 8 places. No one's done any reporting on that stuff. The follow-ups. No one has. So, when a working person has a family, or a retired person, or whatever, they don't want to deal with that stuff. They move. When grandma, that worked all her life mopping floors, or was the cook in a school and paid off her house in Inglewood, now you got a bunch of crackheads running around, crashing things, burning things. She's gonna move, and after she dies, she's gonna move. They're gonna sell their house. Look at Inglewood. Look at the demographics now of Inglewood. They put a brand new school there. Well, look at who lives there now. Mostly migrants, a lot of Hispanics. Why? Because the Hispanics are not getting pushed out of Pilsen. The Hispanics are getting pushed out of this area, right? So you have to give them another place to live. So you have to kick out those people. That's what gentrification is. There's all books written on this stuff. A lot of books are written on these things. Now we're at the Elston shelter, right? Let's go up here. That's the Elston shelter, right? There you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the videos I'm going to time to get in and talk about. So it's gentrification of the whole city. This was owned by Sterling Bay, I believe. They sold it to a partner. He was back in his taxes. He was behind in taxes. And I don't know if he used the money to pay the taxes off or not. We'll see, right? But again, here's another building. I don't know if it's being used. This is a migrant shelter. I got threatened here. We had another reporter that went inside of this building. This was a building that had a lot of problems. They were attacking cops. There was a lot of prostitution here, right? Because of the salt shed and stuff like that. And it's historically been a prostitute area, right? Around this area. Let me get my other phone, and then we're going to do a little recording, right? And we're going to go around here, and we're going to see what's going on, right? So this is the Elston shelter, right? I don't even can't keep track of how many we hit today, right? Empty Elston shelter. (6:55 p.m. December 11th, 2025. We're at the Elston Migrant Shelter. Yeah, we're doing a tour of all the shelters today. Again, this one's empty. This one was owned by Sterling Bay, and they sold it to one of their partners, and he was behind in taxes, like a couple $100,000 in taxes. So let's see if this is being used by anybody. There was a lot of migrants in this one here. They were prostituting, selling drugs. Look, it's empty. It doesn't look like it's being used. And it's for sale. It's right there. There you go. Got the for sale sign over there. Nah, it don't look like it's being used. Look at it. See how it's dark down there? It's not being used. So again, millions of dollars spent here. Millions and millions of dollars were spent on this facility. This is Sterling Bay, a big developer that's part of gentrifying Chicago. Let's see if we can get back here, right? This, when the migrants were here, they actually had a gate here. You couldn't drive through here, but I guess when the migrants are gone, you can drive through here, right? It's a nice place. Fixed it up. There you go. Venezuela, man. Don't you see that here? Let me put this up here. Look at that. It's wild. You want to see this? There you go. Venezuela. Look at that. We got to take a picture of that. You see that or not? They still got the graffiti back here about Venezuela. Look at that. There you go, man. I'm not joking. Look at that. Right there. You can't cover it up. So again, what happened to all that money, right? Were the Venezuelans part of that? Were they used? I don't know. There you go, Venezuela, baby. Pretty cool, ain't it? To see that graffiti. I didn't even know that was here. Who speaks Spanish, man? Anybody speak Spanish? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. What does that mean there? Anybody speak Spanish? What does that mean? Who knows Spanish? What does that mean there? There you go. SubX.News. No one does this type of reporting anywhere, nowhere. It doesn't exist. There you go, man. Look, it's all fancy back here. Why ain't they got the homeless Americans back here? Look at that. It's nice. Look at that. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's all beautiful. There was shootings, stabbings, rapes, everything was happening here, man. This was a wild spot. Really wild back here, man. Elston Migrant Shelter, huh? Again, and there's the salt shed. So this is hyper gentrification here. And this was Sterling Bay, connected directly to Sterling Bay. Gentrifiers. But yeah, it looks like it's closed, shut down, ain't it? Yeah, there you go. You just seen it, right? I'm doing a post now. Let's listen to the radio, right?
Well, there were 3, a whole high only Saturday and Sunday of 8. 25 now at 6:59.
Featuring the news that matters and breaking news at any time. This is Chicago's news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Coming up in the next half hour on News Radio WBBM.
This is Nancy Hardy.
CPD failed to protect Crystal.
The mother of a Chicago cop shot and killed by her partner accuses the Department of negligence in a lawsuit.
A Northside congressional hopeful makes her first cable TV ad buy. She becomes the first
gentrification money grab
to hit the airwaves. Plus, with rivers at or near flood stage in parts of Washington state, residents are now ordered to evacuate. That's the latest coming up from CBS News. Stocks rally, the Dow up 650 today. Look for a low tonight of 20, right now 25 at 7 o'clock.
This
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Steel.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson has declared a state of emergency and is asking for federal assistance after days of unrelenting torrential rain sent some rivers flowing over their banks. CBS's Christopher Cruz.
Ferguson spoke in Skagit County, a major agricultural region north of Seattle.
The situation is extremely unpredictable. We're using the best information we can to provide guidance to the people of the state, but it is unpredictable.
Dozens of highways have been closed and tens of thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate. Ferguson said potentially catastrophic flooding is likely in some areas, and there is the potential for significant loss of life in the coming days. Another storm system is expected to bring more rain starting Sunday. Christopher Cruz, CBS News.
21 Indiana Republican senators joined with all 10 of the chamber's Democrats to vote down a congressional map aimed at giving Republicans an advantage in the 2026 election. President Trump, on hearing the news,
would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that. You had one gentleman, the head of the Senate, I guess, Bray, whatever his name is. I heard he was against it. He'll probably lose his next primary.
Venezuela is accusing the United States of piracy after American forces seized an oil tanker off their coast yesterday. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the tanker was being used to transport sanctioned oil to Iran. President Trump suggested the U.S. would keep the oil. CBS's Charlie Daggett reports.
We've actually been tracking it. It has turned north toward the United States, and the decision will be made. The Trump administration anyway has said, look, this is, I assume the oil is going to be ours. It won't be quite that straightforward. There are certain legal processes to look into.
Gilmar Obrego Garcia, the Salvadoran national who was mistakenly deported to his home country earlier this year, will not spend tonight in a federal immigration detention facility. He walked out of the Pennsylvania facility today after a federal judge said that ICE had no legal basis to detain Obrego Garcia and ordered his release. A federal grand jury refuses to indict former New York Attorney General Letitia James, the second time a grand jury has declined to indict her on charges of bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution. Former federal prosecutor Lori Levinson.
There are no rules limiting the number of times that the Justice Department can go to the grand jury or a different grand jury, but there's certainly a message here by the grand jurors that this is not a case that should be brought.
Thailand's prime minister gets the royal approval to dissolve parliament, paving the way for general elections. Thailand is engaged in a large-scale combat with Cambodia over long-disputed border claims. This is CBS News.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online at steelusa.com or in-store.
Chicago's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 105.9 and WBBMNewsRadio.com.
It's 7:03 on Thursday, December 11th, 2025, 2 weeks to Christmas. Good evening, I'm Roger Plummer. It's 25 degrees in Chicago, under cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy with a flurry or two around. Any accumulating snow will stay well south and west of the city, a low near 20. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, cold with a couple of flurries, a high around 30. We'll check the AccuWeather 5-day forecast at 7:15. But first, our top local story on News Radio WBBM. The family of a slain Chicago police officer, Crystal Rivera, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the department, claiming her partner left her to die after shooting her during a chase last summer. WBBM's Nancy Hardy has more.
Devastating is how Yolanda Rivera describes knowing her daughter's partner had at least 11 misconduct complaints filed against him in less than 3 years on the force.
There were opportunities to intervene, and yet Nothing was done.
The civil suit accuses CPD of negligence in keeping Carlos Baker despite those allegations, including on his first day as a probationary officer. Attorney Antonio Romanucci says Baker shot Rivera shortly after she found out he was cheating on her and she broke up with him.
He didn't call for an ambulance. In fact, his cover-up began after he shot her. Immediately, he claimed that shots were fired at police, when the only shot that was fired that night was from his gun.
The department has declined to comment on the pending litigation. Nancy Hardy, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Cable TV viewers are about to see the latest attempt by one candidate in a Chicago area congressional primary to set herself apart in a crowded field ahead of March's primary. WBBM political editor Jeff Buckles takes a closer look.
Candidate Kat Abu-Ghazaleh has been federally indicted.
The first cable ad buy from Democrat Kat Abu-Ghazaleh focuses on her appearance in protests against Operation Midway Blitz at the ICE facility in Broadview.
Are we going to stand up for the people, or are we going to let ICE do as it pleases?
Several of her opponents in the 9th District race also protested in Broadview, and retired WBBM political editor Craig Dellamore says they also may try to leverage that activism as they fight to stand out.
You're going to see that people in this race are going to do anything they can to distinguish themselves.
17 Democrats and 4 Republicans are running for the chance to succeed retiring Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. Jeff Buckles, News Radio 105.9. WBBM.
Chicago police are alerting the public after what they're calling an attempted child luring incident last night in the Inglewood neighborhood.
It happened just before 8 p.m. at 72nd and May. Police say a girl was walking home on the sidewalk. A silver Chevy Malibu approached, and the driver, a man, tried to lure the girl into the car. Police say he offered to smoke with her. She went to a friend's home and saw the vehicle circling the block several times. The Malibu has a passenger side headlight out. The driver is described as heavy with a twists hairstyle. Mike Krauser, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
A man faces a lengthy prison sentence after he was found guilty of a shooting at an indoor amusement park.
Police responded to a call of shots fired at Safariland Amusement Park on North Avenue in West Suburban Villa Park on November 13th, 2021. Police say Miko Norris and his victim were both at Safariland for a birthday party when Norris shot the victim 3 times. Investigators say the shots were fired just a few feet from dozens of children. The victim survived. Norris fled the scene. He was taken into custody the next day at his Chicago home. Norris, who's now 29 years old, will be sentenced in February. He could get 90 years in prison. Terry Keshner, 105.9 WBBM.
A woman in southwest suburban Homer Glen was bound and gagged during a home invasion yesterday. The Will County Sheriff's Office says the 73-year-old woman arrived home from the grocery store and pulled her car into her garage when she was confronted by a man with a handgun. The Sheriff's Office says they are investigating and no arrests have been made. It's 7:08. Traffic and weather together.
But they got a camera on the ATMs, don't they? Don't they have plate read? I don't know. I don't get this. Did you guys just hear that story? That's brand new. I'm gonna have to dig up that story. That's outrageous. Where's all the plate readers? Where's all the evidence? They home invasion to her and robbing her, right? That's crazy there, man. I hope she's okay, that lady.
On the Stevenson, it's going to be a 35-minute trip, and that's either way.
We're winding down. We're gonna check. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see how this works out. We're going over here to the Marshall Field Gardens. We got a tip that they're doing drug dealing over here.
Full mouth implants affordable. Save up to 90
some things to the judge. I just had a meeting today. Actually, I had a hearing today about my case with Chicago Public Schools. And one day I'm going to tell you guys about that case. I'm still waiting. And they lied today. It was weird. It was weird. And so they said I can't be a teacher even though I was a teacher before and I have a license to be a teacher and I'm cleared to be a teacher by the state. But CPS don't like me because I put one of their CEOs in prison, right? So they don't like me. I got a few people fired. And the lady says, oh, we didn't check your record. Blah, 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 something like that, right? So, today, and that was under oath, her hand was on the Bible. Maybe she don't believe in the Bible. I don't know, some people... Today, she said she looked at my file, and that's how they made their decision. When the last time she testified, she said she didn't look at my file. A complete, what do you call it? Whatever. You can say things of your viewpoint. You kind of get it? So today she said she looked at my file. When the last time she said she didn't. Yeah. So that's how life is. And they said somebody shot her. What did they say? He knew it. He shot her. And he said somebody shot when they didn't. Snelling, the next day, I think Snelling, I don't know, was that night. Snelling said, on the radio calls, they said there were suspects looking for him. So they already knew at that time there wasn't. Snelling went on, I think that night. It wasn't the next, I think the next day the next day he didn't. I gotta dig up the news conferences. I'm telling you, Snelling lied about that case. He shouldn't have said that because he should have pulled the body cams and he would have known. Alrighty, we're over here on Black Hawk and Sedgwick. They do a lot of stuff over here. Drug dealing, right? Go over here, maybe. Hopefully we don't get in trouble by none of these people. This is private projects here. There's stuff that's going on. And we got reports that there's drugs, possibly prostitution, and other things happening in the cars over here. So that's why we're stopping by to check this stuff out. We might get threatened. They might come and try to kill us. I know this is a gang that runs this building over here. It's the different gang from Cabrini Green. Again, look, if you're doing criminal activity, you're selling drugs, you're prostituting, you're doing juice money, I don't care. I could care less about that. That's your thing. That's what you do. That's okay. But when you start doing it in public, when you start doing it on streets, when you start threatening and harassing public people, then that's not, here, how about this? I say this, then that's not cool. It's inappropriate. Because now you're taking your crime and what you do, which is your choice, and you're pushing it on other people. You kind of get what I'm trying to say there? So that's the problem, right? And we're getting reports that at this building, right, we don't know who it is, we don't know where they are, we don't know who the gangs are, that there's stuff happening at this building, especially right here, where people are doing things that are illegal. They're selling drugs. They're threatening people. They're hurting innocent people. And look, this is all we're trying to say. Again, I ain't a cop. I'm a reporter. If you're doing crime, that's your thing. I'm not going to arrest you. I'm not sending my videos to the cops. I don't do those things. I don't talk to cops about my cases unless it's related to me specifically, if I get threatened or whatever it is. The point I'm trying to make here is what? If you're harming people of the public, if you're harming fellow residents, if you're harming neighbors, if you're harming people that come by. There was a report yesterday over at the Howard Red Line. They were throwing things at the passing by cars. Do your crime. Whatever you want to do it in private. What you do in your apartment is your business. But when you start affecting the public, then that's a problem, right? What do we got? Cars from Indiana dropping people off at Chicago projects. You see that car right in front of me? That Kia? Look. See that Kia right in front of me? See the Kia? Josiah 1. See that there? That's an Indiana plate. What are they doing here? What is an Indiana plate doing around a project? That's an Indiana car there. You see the Indiana car there? You just sit here for a second. You watch. Whatever. It might be innocent stuff. It might be somebody from Indiana doing Uber Eats in Chicago at a project. I don't know. I don't care. That's their business. The point is this. The police are supposed to protect everyone. And criminals, you're criminals. That's your thing, man. I get it. I get that, man. I just told you I'm a former criminal. I'm a former convict. I'm a returning citizen. I get that. I get it. I used to rip and run 30-something years ago. 33 years ago I did. I get that. You go through a phase. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. Most regular people, 95% of the people aren't that. They never do a crime. They never even get a ticket. I got a car without lights coming back at me. They're watching my live feed. They might come up on me and shoot my ass. We'll see. I'm gonna have to get out of here. So I don't see. There's an Indiana car there. I don't know what they're doing there. There's another car without lights. I'm gonna get out of here, man. But the point I'm trying to make is this: if you're doing your thing, why are you bothering other people? If you're homeless, and then I go talk to you, why does a drug dealer talk to me? What does being homeless and drug dealing have to do with anything, right? If you're drug dealing on a street corner, why are you bothering other people to do your drug deals? That's okay. I get it. Whatever, man. But then when you start giving people the middle fingers, you start yelling at people, you start harming other people, then do you think that's appropriate? Here's this. How about this? Why don't I talk this way to you? Those of you who deal drugs, are in gangs, and watch my videos. I know you do. It's okay. I don't mind it. You should watch my videos. Why don't you do your thing and that's it? And leave people alone. Why don't you do that? You have videos. You have internets. You have all kinds of ways, WhatsApps and all of these things. Why you bother people? Why do you bother people? Why do you shoot up downtown? Why do you shoot up on Chicago Avenue where 19 people were shot? The worst mass shooting in Chicago's history. Why did you do that? That's not good for business. If you're a businessman, you're a drug dealer or you're a gang member, is that good for gangs? Is that good for drugs? I don't know. I'm not into that stuff. I don't sell drugs. I'm not in a gang. Never have been in a gang. I've never sold drugs. So I don't know what that is. My crimes are different things, right? So I don't get why you would do those things in public and then get the public against you. Do your crime, do your drugs, do your prostitution, whatever it is. No one's going to bother you if you're not bothering other people. I don't understand it. See, when I grew up, that's what we had. We had a code. Don't bother people. Don't bother regular people. That's it. We did our thing, man. Maybe when I'm on my deathbed, I'm 57, maybe when I'm 80 or 90, I'll tell you all the things I did. You can find some of the things I've done. They're on the internet. You can find my records. You can search my stuff. I ain't afraid. I never sealed my records. My records are open. You can go and find out what I've done. I'm not afraid of my past, but I'm living a different life right now. And that's what I'm trying to say right here. Why do you guys and girls do that stuff? Why do you harm people that are innocent? Why do you think that's appropriate? Not everybody wants to be a gangster. Not everybody wants to smell weed. Not everybody wants to see a prostitute in front of their house. Not everybody wants to see gang signs and gang slogans everywhere. And you don't own the sidewalk. You don't own the streets. They're everybody's. Just like you're on the sidewalk and on the street selling your drugs, so does everybody else have a right to be on that sidewalk. Learn some respect. Have some code. If you don't like what I'm saying and you want to kill me, then we need to deal with that, right? Then one day I'll have to deal with it, right? And we'll see how that works out. I might win, you might win. We'll see how that one works out for you gangbangers and killers that want to kill me. We will see how that ends. I might die. But you might die too. Remember that. In those types of things, right? The point I'm trying to make here is this. This is a city of a lot of people. Most people don't do crime. Most people are good people. 95% of the people in this city are good people that go to work every day. They mind their own business. They raise their families, make their money, and they'll do their thing. That few that sells drugs, gangbangs, and does crime and does whatever and are corrupt and part of whatever that is, I get that. I get that. Why don't you do your thing on your own thing? Why are you bothering people? That's the point I'm trying to make here. And why would you threaten me when I'm sitting in my car in a public spot talking about it? If you don't want the news to talk about your crime, then don't do the crime in front of the news. Got that? When I'm sitting and talking to a homeless guy and you come and say I'm going to shoot you with my pistol, when I'm sitting in a public space, or you throw things at my car when I'm videotaping drug dealing, then you're something else. You're now more a criminal, right? You're not a criminal anymore that wants to do crime and do your thing. Now you're some kind of antisocial psychopath, maybe even a domestic terrorist, urban terrorist that wants to harm people in public. See, you have to think about these things. If you want to be a criminal, then be a criminal. Being in public is not being a criminal. That's something else. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you would call that. That's why I'm saying that right here. Do your thing. Who cares? But when you're in public, you're messing with the public. And I'm gonna give one more warning again, and I'm gonna keep saying this. There's 95% of us out here that are living a normal, law-abiding life. There's 5% of you guys that want to do your thing. That's okay. That's okay. But just remember, 95 versus 5 is not good odds. So if you want to do your thing, do your thing. And stop bothering the public. Stop bothering the public. And if you don't want to be on TV, you don't want to be on SubX.News, you don't want to be on ABC News or Pam Zeckman's or whatever, then don't do your crap on the street corner. Don't be threatening people. Do your thing. Whatever you want to do. That's why we're in America. In other societies, if they catch guys like you guys and girls, you usually don't get out of prison for a long, long, long time. You're lucky you live in this society where we're a little bit lenient on that type of behavior. Because we're a new country, right? We're only a couple of 100 years old. But don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by people who go to work every day and you think they're suckers and saps and you're going to take advantage of them. And you're going to burglarize them, you're going to carjack them, you're going to steal their stuff, and you're going to threaten them when they come out of their apartment, okay? Don't get fooled by the majority of people who mind their business. Because one day when the majority of the people get tired of it, things will happen. And if you don't understand what's going to happen, you should read history and see how that works out for people that are criminals. That's all I have for tonight. It's 7:25 p.m. It's been a long broadcast. A lot of things are happening. Bad news for the Chicago Police Department. They cover it up a killing of their own cop. That's the bad news. And Mayor Brandon Johnson vetoed a curfew law that might have let a 14-year-old be alive today. SubX News is signing off. Thank you very much. 7:26 p.m., December 11th, 2025. I hope everybody stays safe. And just, you guys that are out there ripping and running, do your thing, but leave innocent people alone and go figure out a place where you can go do your stuff, okay? Take it easy. Signing off from Marshall Field Gardens, SubX News.